Yeah, we can if you want. Well, good evening. I think we need to move the camera just a smidge.
Are we live? We're live.
We're live. Yeah,
we're live, and it's cold. It's cold. It's cold and blowing.
It's cold as balls out right now.
So, got Stan's moisture shells. I brought those with me on my trip.
Can we see you there now?
So we can increase that egg production. Looks good.
Oh, I think we're too far over. We're somewhere. How about that?
Yeah, that's better.
Oh, you're looking sharp tonight.
I went back
Burgundy
to
on Burgundy on.
And I got my tartan.
That's right uptown.
It's getting a little closer to Christmas. I got like a couple Christmas titles.
Sir Robin.
Not December yet, but yeah, Sir Robin this evening.
Yeah,
so
that's good.
Actually, Corey was asking me yesterday if I should where she should hang that in the office. She's hanging shit up on the walls. So yeah, my journeyman ticket and then my lordship.
You need to get like a broadsword, a claymore, like a 7-foot long claymore.
I should. I'm sure she'd love that in her house.
Yeah, right above the fireplace.
Yeah, that and a big old set of 9-point stag or whatever.
There you go. Yeah.
One of those. Oh man, I was in town today too. I think that stuff was on sale. I can't remember what that down one was worth, but it was like only $88 at the store. Is that
it's usually $95.
Oh, okay. Eh? Must have been on sale.
That's ditch water compared to what we're having tonight.
Oh, we're going up one shelf.
We're gonna go with the Glendronach.
That's a new one.
It's quite. I picked this up in Calgary half a dozen trips ago.
So that's what the upper echelons of the oil patch drink.
$140 a bottle. So if my wife's listening, no, I'm just kidding.
That's a hard JK.
Yeah, just kidding. Yeah. So, and then remember this bottle?
Your nature walk find.
We did a nature walk. We were going to find some beavers, and in a backwater or an oxbow lake, we would call them back home. The backwater, there was this old whiskey bottle laying in behind the beaver dams, and I thought, well, that's kind of interesting, and I wanted to look up the history on it. It's a Hiram Walker and Sons bottle. So
okay.
We put it out actually on our TikTok to see if anybody knew what it was. And lots of folks thought it was Seagram's, and there was a few other guesses, Canadian Club. But I really couldn't find like an actual bottle that ever looked like that. Like I couldn't find anything to compare it to. But I thought, well, that's pretty cool. Like it's probably from the 50s or 60s. So what I did is I thought it'd be a really cool place to keep all our cigar bands.
Perfect.
I'll tuck them in there, then they can be on display. We'll need to smoke a few more here yet.
Absolutely. Well, I think we probably, with what's in the humidor, I think there's probably enough.
We'll get there, yeah. You betcha.
How
are we doing for cups?
What is there? There's a few in there.
Because I know
2, 4, 6, 8. There's 8. No, there's some of those are empty.
I gotta get one to Curtis in Grand Prairie, and Kent was going to stop by today and pick up his, but he was in Hythe and I was in Grand Prairie. It didn't work out. So
I'm going to just try to get this going on TikTok.
You're TikToking at the same time.
I'm just going to see if I can get this going on TikTok.
We've got a few folks on already. Damon's on, Justin's on, Robin's on, Chad's on, Wheat King's on. Awesome! Wow, big crowd tonight. Only the finest.
Honestly,
the finest gentlemen in the house.
Over here. We'll just give it a quick try. If it doesn't work, we'll just scrap it all together.
Steal too much bandwidth or whatever. Then
you guys let us know right away if this is
suddenly we go pixely or whatever.
Blurry. What was that about? Winter prep.
Yeah, winter prep tonight.
We're not prepped at all.
I don't know. I don't think I'm prepared. Like I stepped out of the house and I tried to yell across the yard. I don't even think you heard me. Like
it's something else.
Yeah, it was cold. The winds. Where is it? It's kind of the north, eh? Was that the east this morning?
It was. Well, when I was standing there waiting for you, it was going straight over the west. It felt.
Oh, was it?
But maybe it swirled around the shop.
I think it's swirling around the shop. It was hitting me right in the face when I stepped out of the house there. But,
yeah. No, that's not even facing the right way.
You got your back.
We didn't. So with all this prep talk, and we're not really prepped at all for tonight.
Yeah, we're so busy prepping for the farm that oftentimes these little video nights are just scrambling to get things put together. I was actually going to run an Ethernet cable from the house over here to get things lickety split, but I got the cable. I just didn't have the time to actually run it over. So we'll get what we get tonight.
Absolutely. You can't.
The phone jammed up in the. What is that? Painter's tape.
So yeah, we'll get her flanged up here, just like that. Call it good. See if we can deflect
that's right uptown.
Deflect some traffic. We'll just leave it like that because they'll have to just go to YouTube. Anyways, YouTube's the better place to be.
YouTube's the place to be.
That's what it's set up for.
Because TikTok gets us right between the shoulder blades.
It does. We don't have enough.
We don't have we'd have to set it way back there.
Yeah. And then we couldn't see it.
You know what we got to do is because I think like TikTok Live Studio, I think you can actually do off the computer, hey?
Okay. I didn't look into that.
Yeah, no, I've been getting notifications, so we might have to actually
give that a go.
Rig something up, but
interesting.
Yeah. So you're not ready for winter, eh?
No, I'm not. No.
Even though we had Second Chance Sunday, all the snow melted and our the shit we didn't put away just suddenly popped up.
Yeah, that was an eye opener. Then the fact that everything you had got ready has failed already.
Yeah.
So
for me, it was like, because when I unloaded that last bag of grain from you, I spilled a whole bunch. The bag tipped over and I spilled a bunch, and then it snowed right after. And then I thought, oh, like it was just a little bit, but I realized that the bin wasn't as full as. So then it all melted, and I'm like, holy, there was a lot on the ground. Like, so I was out shoveling it up last night, and
well, you weren't short of it.
No, I knew it was all there because it was on the ground because I had to shovel it up, but I just pitched it over to the sheep, so there's none gone to waste.
No, well that's one nice thing about spilling grain when you have critters around the yard is it's.
Yeah, I mean the damn cats won't eat it. That's the shame, right?
They don't.
No, the dog every once
in a while. I was going to say our dog likes it.
Yeah,
get a mouthful.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
But yeah, so here we are. What is the day today? The 25th of November. A month from Christmas.
So
if we're on the naughty list, it's time for redemption, I guess. But
I can't see myself being on the naughty list.
No.
Oh
wow.
I'm a pretty good guy.
No lumps of coal. Charlotte actually said, well, I think Carmen told her this the other day, that the naughty kids get sheep poop for Christmas. So
oh yeah.
I might have to go scratch some up and put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in her stocking just for fun Christmas morning.
I'm not sure she'll be really.
She don't think she'll like
impressed.
I remember I was probably 5 or 6 years old when my old man actually wrapped up a piece of coal and left it under the tree for me. That scarred me emotionally. He thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen in his life, but I wasn't too enthralled. So
I don't think I've ever had a cruel trick like that played on me.
No,
on Christmas.
No.
I was a blessed individual. Spoiled brat.
Spoiled brat, eh?
So,
there you go.
So that's conversation for tonight. Winter prep.
Yeah, you betcha.
Smoking and drinking. What are we smoking?
What are we smoking?
We smoke these. So this is funny. Whenever Stan and I are in town and happen to be by the cigar shop, we go browse around, pick something up. Then they always end up in here, and there's 100 and some cigars in here. So we forget right away. So then when we start to plan these evenings, one of us will do a synopsis on the booze, and the other will do one on the smoke. But I never, unless you have this in your hand and you can see the wrapper and really see what it is, if you just Google Fleur de las Antilles, there's a lot of cigars it could be. There's a lot of sizes it could be. So I give it my best shot. The one I came up with, and I don't think, but 6.5 52 ring gauge. You thinking?
I think 6.5 52 ring gauge box press.
So I could be onto it.
I think you got it.
This is so very similar in regards to geographically specific. Like the Scotches to Scotland, cigars are basically to Cuba. Cuban families most of the time, tobacco growers, things like that. So this cigar brand is no different. Cuban family, however, this cigar is exclusively Nicaraguan.
Get rid of this piece of garbage. And
when I was doing a little bit of research, they talked about the wrapper.
Oh, that thing
and how impressive it is. And
folks at home can see that or not, but that's right uptown.
Very, very much, vintage Cuba. So medium-bodied cigar. It's going to be around that hour, 20-minute smoke time. We're going to get distinct notes of cocoa, pepper, sweet cedar, earth, a lot of beer.
This is going to be a good cigar.
Is it?
Oh.
Straight
that
glove
smells
box?
Like, it almost smells like behind the seat of the grain truck. Oh, yeah.
like the foam that fell out and then piled up there,
like underneath the headliner.
So, and well, that's interesting because we've noted that when it's terrible off the start, it's a like off the smell, it's a tremendously good cigar.
Yeah,
I read some reviews on it, and they said one of the most consistent cigars to smoke right through.
Really?
You're not going to notice a change through any third.
Interesting.
So that's about the cigar. Like I say, the it's all Nicaraguan, the binder, the filler, the wrapper, all of that. The cool thing, this Pepin is the family name. This guy rolled 320 cigars in 4 hours. So he's
320.
Oh. Yeah, it's like a cigar every minute and 20 seconds or something.
He's just giving her.
Arguably became known as the most productive cigar wrapper in all of Cuba.
Wow.
So in the cigar world, which I guess we're very much not versed in, everybody knows him. I never heard of him. But if you smoke cigars and you are anybody with any knowledge of cigars, you know who this guy is.
Okay.
So maybe we've just started a new chapter.
We've stumbled across this.
So now we know. And we can go on and we can tell people that we know who Don Pepin is.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure like he's probably gonna want to be Facebook friends with us here right away.
Yeah, I expect
he's
so.
He's probably already following us on TikTok. So.
Yeah, well, him or his son. I'm not exactly. I didn't get into because these are 2012 is when these came out. I didn't even look because I was scrambling today. We had some other stuff from our incident in town earlier that kept me from really doing the research here. I didn't get into the whole history, but this brand came out, or this line of cigar in 2012. This is ranked one of the best cigars. Like this one is no joke. Like we've had some gimmicks and we've had some baseline cigars.
Yeah.
This cigar is like cigar smokers would know what this was.
Okay. Well, I think it cost me $38, so hopefully it's $38 well spent, I guess.
Well, I guess I thought, of course, you get prices from $9 worth, like right in Cuba to basically like $80.
We just get ass raped here in Canada, right?
So I think from what I even seen on the internet, 30 was probably a fair price for these.
Yeah.
This the Antilles, I didn't actually even know this. That's just the chain of islands that Cuba's in. Cuba's the largest island.
Oh, is that right?
So that's where the name comes, and this means flower of
the island.
So
yeah.
So very, very cool. And I would say from the research that we've done on all the cigars and the research I've done on this one, this is going to be the most high-class cigar that we've smoked so far.
Well, I'm excited. It makes me nervous just looking at it because it is a box press. The last one we had was box pressed. That had a really tight draw.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the cap on it's a very square tipped cap. So I think that it would be a good cigar for a chisel cut, like a V cut or even a punch cut.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have one of those.
No.
Straight cuts. So
it's gonna be what it is.
Just the tip, so they say.
Did you get just enough off?
Yeah. But see, look at that.
Right away?
Right away, the wrapper starts to peel. So, exercise caution.
Did you watch that guy on? So he said if you don't have a cigar cutter and actually run your fingernail around where that just peeled, you can get them that way too. You just pop that right off. So there's no way that these aren't properly.
Well, I got a bit of Copenhagen there now.
Mine popped off too. Like you say, there's quite a bit to cigar cutting as well.
I think we're gonna get her she's gonna get the Schwarzenegger treatment here. Once we pour one, and I'm just gonna dip the tip in a splash of portwood and see how that goes.
Seems to be good enough.
Good draw, yeah.
But yeah, that
smell. I don't want to light mine until
you have a sip.
We have a sip of whiskey because we did find that out previously that sometimes this can dull the senses when it comes to the whiskey. So,
absolutely.
On tap this evening we have the Glendronach Portwood. It's a Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. So So it actually there's a non-age statement here. It doesn't say anywhere it's
Mm.
12 or 15 or 21 or 25. But if you dig on their website, you will find that it's actually 10.
Okay.
Right, but the final 3 years are in port casks or whatever, port butts or something that you keep them in, right? So the Glendronach Distillery is located in the East Highland Hills of Aberdeenshire. So if you're familiar with that is, you should, because
I'm learning.
It's right beside where your estate is.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's right there.
Our neighbors.
Right, the neighbors, yeah, exactly. The distillery actually was founded in 1826, so they do lay claim to being one of the oldest distilleries in Scotland, which, as you know from what we have on the rack, there's a handful of those that say that, right? But, yeah, but it's on the site of the Boynes Mill Estate, and that dates back to 1771, so it's got a lot of history there. And Glendronach, well, Glen, as you know, means the valley of, and Dronach is the Scots Gaelic word for brambles. Brambles is it's a thorny fruit bush, kind of like a blackberry, and the whole area is just surrounded in bramble bushes. So it's the valley of the brambles. Right? Pretty cool. But the whiskey itself it's a pretty expensive one. It's pretty uptown, but has a long and tumultuous history. Been a bit of a stepchild. So in the 1860s, this was actually the largest duty-paying distillery within the Highlands. So that was quite interesting. There's 50 people living on the site, which of course included all the workers and their families. Right. In 1920, Captain Charles Grant bought the distillery. You remember the name Grant? It's a pretty popular whiskey name. He is the son of William Grant, who was the founder of the Glenfiddich distillery. So 1960, the distillery was bought by William Teacher and Sons. So if you've ever heard of Teacher's whiskey, right? So things gone back and forth and back and forth. Teacher's actually expanded the number of stills from 2 to 4. And then in 1996, I don't know what happened. I tried to find it, but I couldn't. They actually mothballed the whole distillery until 2002. So I don't know if that was an economics thing or a production thing or carbon footprint or global warming or just what. I don't know what was going on there. But anyways, from 96 to 2002, they parked it. 2002, they came back online and relaunched up to full production. So that was pretty cool. 2005, they sold out again to Allied Distillers, and it was purchased by Allied Distillers in 1996. In 2005, they sold to Chivas Brothers, and then also later in 2005, they converted to steam heating. So they were actually the last distillery to use coal-fired heat to distill their whiskey. They switched over to steam. 2008, they were taken over by the Ben Riach Distillery Company. And in 2005, that distillery company was named the Global Whiskey Distiller of the Year. So that was kind of cool.
Wow.
2016, they sold again to Brown-Forman. So they're just literally like the foster child, the whiskey.
That's amazing. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyways, I think that's kind of where they reside right now, right? But so this is actually inspired by the import of port from the 1800s. In the 1800s, port was they call it de rigueur, but it was basically like peer pressure. Like if you didn't drink port, you were a nobody. You were like the scum of society, right? Anybody that's anybody would drink port. So then, of course, all these port, they call them port pipes. They would come across from Spain, and then they would end up in the Highlands, and then, of course, they repurpose them to store the whiskey, right? So, yeah, so it's kind of cool. This is actually a 46% whiskey, so you probably won't want to drink too much, but it's on the higher end. I'll pour one here, and you'll see the color. It's actually well renowned for its color. It should be very, very dark.
I was gonna say so there's port comes up obviously quite a bit in this. You can really tell on the nose from the peat, the sherry, port. Like you can almost tell where they come from just by smelling them. I'm sure A really advanced whiskey connoisseur could tell you just by smelling it where it came from.
I'm almost certain.
Because I almost can't.
Because you get into the
it's like the Pepsi Coke challenge. Like you know,
sure. Yeah,
that when you know, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't smell, salty or anything like that, like or not really picking up any peat. So more like a fruity kind of crisp smell, right? So the nose is supposed to be delightful waves of Victoria plum, bramble, and strawberry jam with top notes of cherry blossom and honeysuckle on a base of sandalwood and ginger. So that's a lot. There's going to be a lot to unpack there, I think. On the palate, it's supposed to be layers of rich fruits. As you sip it, you'll get blackberry, roasted apple crumble with freshly baked gingerbread, and developing into kind of more citrusy, baked orange, black cherry kind of back note. So then apparently like afterwards, the aftertaste is more like orange peel, sultana, cherry cake. So I actually brought some Christmas cake here. Maybe we'll have after we have the first one, we can tie into that, and it should complement the flavors quite nice. So
I have to say, amazingly, as you read those notes, I could pick up a lot of that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it, of course, a lot of the notes I don't understand what they are anyways, or I know what a strawberry is.
You know what a strawberry is? Yeah. Sandalwood. I don't know what sandalwood is.
Right? I don't know. Yeah, what it looks like, what it smells like.
I think my wife has some conditioner or something that's got sandalwood in it, but you do know, like it's very at 46%. Like it's a bit volatile in the nose.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Like, it's running hot. It might be premium. Little bite on the tip of the tongue.
It's harsher than a lot of them,
but and then
all the way down.
Warm, yeah. I'm glad it took a Tums.
Oh yeah,
before we got into this.
2 ounces of Pepto.
That's the secret if you don't know that at home, folks.
That is, I think, going to be a mighty fine Scotch. I think that's well worth it.
Just for the sake of.
You're going to splash it.
I'm going to put a splash there. I don't know if I'm allowed or not.
I was going to ask too. Some say you can't. Some say you can.
At the end of the day, it's $140 a bottle. You can do whatever the hell you want with it.
I'd have a splash as well. I think I've been watching a bit of.
Just a splash.
So we have Smoke and Oak on TikTok as well. I realize a lot of YouTube people don't cross over to TikTok, vice versa. But some of the channels we follow on the Smoke and Oak TikTok, I was watching some of them. And they were really explaining a lot of things about Scotch tasting, Scotch drinking, cigar cutting. Quite a bit I didn't know. Even that first drink, right? They say that first drink you just swallow it. It goes right down. It doesn't linger. It's just a wash.
Just take it, just
boom. And I didn't know that. I was told a long time ago that the first one was supposed to
burns like wildfire.
Stay in there
if you do that. Yeah.
And then they said too. Well, we knew this. Like when you dump water into Scotch, you can watch it forever release.
Yeah, you can.
Everything.
It's like it's almost like watching smoke in the air, right?
And it undeniably changes the Scotch. It releases all sorts of flavor and
a lot sweeter. The burn is still there. The warmth is still there, but the bite not so much. So no, that's a really good whiskey. Well, shall we light one?
We shall.
I am going to dip this just because I don't want this thing to come completely unfurled. Just a quick little dip just to moisten the tip there.
That's going to be that's going to be part of our. Well, that'll be in one of our. I got some bullet points to discuss when it comes to winter prep. That's how I did it. I didn't write a bunch with them, just things I thought, and one was going to be winter project.
Okay, yeah.
And I think you're infusing a cigar should be a
winter project. Yeah. We should do that.
Absolutely. We got
find a Tupperware,
a box of Monte Cristo, so we know what they taste uninfused, and we'll know what they taste.
Got like a placebo or a control.
Absolutely.
I guess they call that.
Control. Because I think we only smoked 2 of those. I don't know how many's in there. 25
I
maybe.
think just you and I had one each. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Maybe just toast it up here.
oh, where's this one here?
I think this one's running a little low on go juice.
Between the butane and the cigars and the scotch, eh? Oh, that smells
Oh,
so
that's
good.
a very, very aromatic smell.
Wow. Right now. Just right now. Oh, that smells good. That smells just like Cuba.
Have you been to Cuba?
I've been twice.
Would you recommend it?
Absolutely. Not to the place I went the second time. We went over Christmas. What the hell was that place called? Not good. Not good. But I can't sit on the beach. Can't do it.
No way.
Hour. That's it.
Not your cup.
Like an hour of the whole 2-week trip. That's max. I can't do it.
So what do you do for the other
Oh, we go everywhere.
96 hours?
Just everywhere.
Just
Like,
getting a moped.
you know, up. You know, like when I went the first time, I went with my parents. I was still in high school, and my dad is very much like, you don't holiday with that man. You're up at 6. You're on the bus.
You're just giving it.
Right, and you've seen. By the time you leave Cuba, you've seen more than the locals ever will see. By the time you leave anywhere, right, he wants to see it because he's probably never going back.
Get your money's worth out of it. Going all that way, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know because everything costs more as well. None of that was. But yeah, we went fishing. We went to the cigar factories and all the historical places. There's a tour every day.
Yeah,
Something. So
that's interesting. That is cool. I feel like we've got to change the backdrop here. Let's get some pumpkin spice back here.
oh, look at that.
Look at that. Oh, there we go. Our buddy XXX69.biz is back on.
Oh, wow, look at that guy.
Free girls. So we're just going to go ahead and block that person. Last time we had somebody that was up to no good with that too. Eh?
We did, yeah. It's
Yeah,
not
so
required.
we're just going to block them because I highly doubt anybody's willing to provide a reference for that person's character.
No.
Chad says he was just getting set up to preg test 200 cows in the morning. Kind of mucky in the corrals. Actually, be nice if it freeze a bit tonight. I don't know. Here it definitely warmed up and the snow melted, but the ground is still hard. And
Yeah.
getting a freezing rain that like everything's still stiff. And
It is. Yeah, I was even where the ground's bared off around the house and everything. It doesn't stick to your shoes yet. But it's cold. I mean, you can see your breath outside right now.
oh yeah, no, it's definitely
Even with
cold.
that wind. So.
So
And yeah, all the buses were canceled this morning.
were they
so,
really?
Yeah.
I kind of thought they might be.
So we had
Get a quarter inch of rain in November. It's probably time.
we had a bunch of pigs at the butcher to pick up, so we had to go to town and drop that off. So we made our plan this morning. We thought, it's too icy to be out on the roads. We'll just wait, put this off till 11, 12 o'clock, then we'll go into town. Then we won't have any issues. So we put it off, being responsible. Went into town, came out of the grocery store to a smashed up car, anyways. So
Some people's children, eh?
and that individual was kind enough to not stick around or leave any information. So I guess that one's on us.
Probably for the best.
Don't go to town.
I seen you coming out towards Broken Tail. I'd probably be a little bit scared too.
I'm not a real aggressive guy. It was icy too.
Yeah.
So
You don't want to wrestle on ice. Bambi on ice.
no. So anyways, now we get to learn the ins and outs of body work on a Ford Explorer. Lights are expensive. I know that, like $670 just for the light.
A shit'll buff out, as they say.
Well, I guess so.
That's too bad. It's terrible, terrible people.
It is, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, and I got to thinking about it after and got to looking at it. I mean, I'll give whoever it was, I guess, the benefit of a doubt. Maybe they didn't even know it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, if they were driving a big enough truck and they cut the corner too sharp,
The Grand Prairie Special, the
Yes,
jacked up
right.
F350.
Big jacked up F350 welding truck.
Put the fucking
Welding
truck
deck
nuts,
on it.
truck nuts right to the back tail light.
Yeah.
Well,
It just, it's just disappointing. Like, it kind of throws a wrench into your whole day. Like, what are
Sure
we
it
doing
does.
now? Well, I guess we're going over to the collision shop to get an estimate and call insurance. And,
we weren't doing anything anyways, right?
exactly. Right. So
Yeah.
I'm in town every day. So good night
I gotta
for
say, that's a mighty fine cigar.
It is. It is really good.
Yeah, that's good.
So I'm not sure if we're going to get an hour and 20 burn out of it.
I don't think we will. No, I think we'll be just shy of that.
So
hour and 10. That's my bet.
hour and 10.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into it. I noticed you had some bullet points, and I did too. So when we what did we have? We had three on the poll, and I thought, what did we have? We had stop the farming.
I thought stop the farming was going to be the.
I did too.
I thought that was going to fire people up.
But yeah, well,
that got me banned off TikTok.
Well, a couple of people had said earlier on, like, let's talk about something a little more laid back in these evenings. Like, everybody's on edge, and I get it. Right?
I was fired up though, so that's why I want to talk about that one.
Well,
probably for the best.
We'll save that one for the next
pick
one.
a more genteel.
Because this one's been on a couple of polls, and it's always done fairly well. And this time, I think it was whatever. It's funny that none of them get over 50%. This is like they get like one has 48, and the other have like whatever.
We're truly living in a democracy,
absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
So this one, we often do our notes just to, because you got to fill 2 hours. You want people to pop in and out and stick around. You got to have something to talk about. So. We generally have a lot written, but I figured just hitting bullet points here and then we'll expand on them. My first one I had was operational prep, things that are going to affect your operation throughout the winter.
Sure.
Right. That's from your heated water bowls.
Yeah.
To your chicken coop, to your maintenance on your machines for snow plowing, snow blowing.
Yeah.
All of these things, depending on how much your farm works day to day in the winter is going to really depend on how much operational prep you have to do. There's a lot of massive grain farms out there that need to do zero.
Sure.
Right? They need a 4-wheel drive with a snowplow on it, parked in the shop.
Yeah.
When the elevator calls for the grain, they phone the grain hauling company, they plow the snow, they go back to the house, fly to Phoenix. Right? But if you're,
the hired man greases everything while they're away.
Well, that's just it, right? So there's it's very interesting. I know the livestock producing people, their operational prep is it's an annual thing come winter, but before you see that second chance winter, they better be working, because you don't have the option at -40 to be horsing around for a week with broken water lines and stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
So
that's because we have was it like three kind of big dates, right? You got first chance, where it's like you maybe get like a skiff or the first frost. That's your warning shot. Second chance is where we just had, where that foot of snow that we had just all melts and disappears. And then sometime in January, probably January, we'll get another big melt, and the stuff we didn't catch the second time around will pop up, and
or what's left of it.
What's left of it, because you probably run the tractor bucket over 3 or 4 times already. I already did run over some stuff. There was some broken red piece of plastic in the driveway that I seen the other day, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I missed that.
You're trying to run through the dollar value that was. If it was a crazy carpet, or if it was some $900 water bowl.
You got to remember what exactly. I just try and piece the thing together and do a forensic analysis to see if you even recognize what it even was. Right.
Looking for the little black box that it came with.
Yeah. Right uptown.
Sometimes some folks pop onto TikTok, but they're not tonight. Maybe I don't have that.
There's a few. What do you got? A couple in and out, once in a while. That's fine. The real cool kids are on YouTube.
Exactly. That's where it needs to be. That's where this is all geared up for. But we thought we'd throw the TikTok up to drive a little bit of.
Well, if the folks come on, we didn't mention this before, but if the folks come on to YouTube and they drop us a comment in the comment section, they'll get their name entered. You see right up front there, your name entered into a draw for either a custom coffee cup just like that, or if you're a more refined individual and you like to have a sip or two. You might even get a whiskey glass. So
There was a couple of sweaters. There's none left here. I got to make a couple more.
no, there was only the one sweater that came here, and that went to Martine. So
they're pretty cool sweaters.
yeah, comfy.
There's a few more.
Comfy, cozy.
So you'll get that option too.
Nice
Tell
and
they're
soft.
gone, and we'll see what else we do.
So
The cups are definitely most popular.
yeah, I mean,
For sure.
there's nothing classier than sitting down, watching this, and having a drink in your own smoking oak cup, right?
And
I mean, there is something classier is sitting having a whiskey with
these are
the OG
the
cups,
OG
right?
cups.
The originals.
Yeah. One day we're gonna have to just call it quits and just upgrade to smoking oak cups.
Just upgrade it.
But I think they turned out really well. You know, the coffee mugs and I really like them.
Yeah, no, it's right uptown. It's right uptown for sure. So, what else you got on there? So operational prep, yeah, that's for sure. That's a thing, right?
So my next bullet point this was kind of more specific to me, but so then livestock prep, because we do keep some over the winter now, or at least into the winter.
Sure.
So not just do you need to have your water bowls going, your haystack secure, your hay feeders, things like that. You also need to have your shelters
I got that one down. Yeah,
in condition.
animal shelter.
You need to have your bedding ready. You need to have your housekeeping in order. So you're depending on how many animals you're keeping. By the first week of January, the hay's not already or the straw's not stacked to the roof, and ice and there's drainage that needs to happen because, like you say, we're gonna get a thaw.
We're gonna get the big thaw, yeah, for sure.
And if that's you turn everything into a skating rink, then you've got all sorts of downed animals. You got strained animals.
A mucky, shitty, pissy skating rink too, right?
And nobody needs that.
Yeah.
So
we've all seen that cow that the messed up hips because his back legs go out like this, and it does the old flight of the condor, and that where that cow ends up, right?
Exactly, and we've had that a couple of times really bad in the last year. Like last winter did bared right off. The ditches were running, I think, in January.
Yeah, they were, yeah.
And then we had like 2 inches of ice just across everything.
Yeah, that's right.
You couldn't even function.
I remember harrowing the yard here actually just to try and scratch everything up a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that again. I don't know if you come into the 4-wheel skid into the shop.
I just about ended up on your lawn.
I come in 4-wheel. I did this as we're coming in the driveway. I'm like frantically pushing the 4-wheel drive button because I could tell like I was just gonna, because we're right off the county road, like we're straight downhill to the house, and so it was like the wife was there, then my sister-in-law was there, and then we got the spare car, and I'm like, I don't really feel like playing bumper cars here tonight, but so just did the old whoop right into the Ace Ventura into the spot.
Well, our yard is also a skating rink, so I was already ready. I had my winter driving prep done today.
Oh, good, yeah.
So, the winter tires are on, and I had already done the shuffle around the yard where I couldn't get around. So, but that and that livestock prep, that's a really important one because
it is.
I don't know, if you're going to take the responsibility on of producing animals at all, you have to do the whole job. You don't get to half-ass it like another sector of agriculture, because at the end of the day, a barley crop has the next to no feelings, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Whereas it doesn't matter what kind of an animal you're raising; you have to be doing the best you can.
You have to be humane to it, yeah.
So there's no option to leave this thing out in -45 blowing wind with no shelter. There's no option to leave it without feed or without bedding or without even proper security within reason. And there has to be, when you bring these animals home and you assume total responsibility for them, there's a whole level of I don't think I could be a commercial livestock producer.
No,
I don't.
The fencing would just kill a guy.
It would just it's not my. I can grow crops. That's what I'll do.
I remember our first year here. This is what's super relevant to like the shelter piece, but also the fence piece. That first year when we got sheep, we only got 5, right? Let's just dip our toes in kind of thing.
Yeah.
None of those 5, they kept us running every day. Every day they were out. They were somewhere they shouldn't be, and it was just like, oh my goodness, what are we doing here? And I built a pallet shelter for them down in the bottom, and that worked really, really well. That's some old tins, some pallets, cost next to nothing, right? This is perfect. But that first one, this is 2017, and we actually had an actual winter that year.
Mm-hmm.
We had snow like that fence that in that pen is probably close to 5 feet tall, and we had so much snow there that they could damn near jump over the fence, eh? So we got this one big snowstorm come in, and I'm like, oh, like we've got to like put a stop to this because we can't. There's going to come a day we won't be able to get the tractor down there and get feed to them.
Mm-hmm.
So we got on a bit of a rescue mission. So we went down with the tractor, 4-wheel drive tractor in the bucket, and I rounded them all up, and I put them in the tractor bucket. We drove back up to the yard, and we built another shelter up there. You've probably seen it. It's 28 feet long and 8 feet wide, kind of thing, right? That was our first lambing shelter that we were going to have. But my experience coming out of the UK was that sheep just need a place to get out of the wind. They don't need an insulated thing or anything like that. They just need somewhere where it's not windy. So a 3-sided shelter is all we ever had there. So I built a 3-sided shelter. Well, then the 2 days before we started lambing, the wind just went and come out of the east, 35 below, east wind blowing into the open 3-sided shelter, and boy did we go to school, because trying to close up the open face of a 3-sided shelter in 35 below is not a good time, but it was a necessary time. Of course, our whole lamb crop survived that year. That was actually a big win for us, but some lessons for her learned the hard way, unfortunately for us and not for the animals, right? But now we got the barn, and that's a $1 million project. We'll never ever see a financial recovery from, but it'll be there for the kids one day, right? So.
Yeah, well, that's it. You got to, you got to shoot for something, right? And if you make your life a little easier on the way too, there's that as well. So who's that? There's one on TikTok. Who's that? Jer Bear.
Jer Bear's on.
If you're on there alone, Jer Bear, you jump over to YouTube.
Might be the only guy. I think Justin might be there too.
Everybody's on YouTube. Check out Smoke and Oak on YouTube. Join the conversation over here.
It's a place to be, yeah. But with animal shelters, I actually had as a subcategory from that, because I was really thinking about animal welfare. It wasn't just, you can keep them out of the wind and you can keep them out of the rain, but nutrition for me is critical, right?
Mm-hmm.
Putting up your feed stock early on. Well, my wife right now, she gave me a funny look the other day when she seen the bill, but all the grain put up for the winter, all the hay put up for the winter, that big tote of molasses, and we're set, right? I don't know how many folks are going to come to you once things get tight. Price of grain, is it going to go down?
I have no idea. It has gone down. So but certainly it's still high. We fell off the radar there for about 2 weeks moving to the new house. We got rid of the internet there, and I wasn't worried about looking at anything.
Sure.
So when I finally came back too, I noticed actually the stock market had basically climbed all week. Grain prices have not really done anything, but they're still high. Barley's high. Wheat is it's off its high, but to answer your question, is it going to go down? Well, it's 50-50.
Well, I've heard rumblings that the global reserves are still like at an all-time low.
Well, and that's where I'm a whole like buy the rumor, sell the fact guy. I think that they will deep down. Like I think that the grain prices should stay up, I guess, but there seem to be defying the news articles that are available. So they're not very common out there. You don't see them all the time, but they're very available. They've shipped record amounts of grain off of the prairies in the last few weeks. So even domestic stocks should be down.
Where are they shipping it to?
Well, I guess that's what I don't know. There's even arguments about with the Ukraine and Putin and everything. If you read into that, like he said, if any of this grain was going to starving countries, he would let it through. Like he even said he'd give the first 500 million tons or something away.
Oh yeah,
Russian wheat.
Sure.
So as far as where it's, I don't know if that's what you were getting at, but I don't know where it's going. I
wasn't thinking about Russia actually. I was thinking about the Asian market actually, but I've always thought like the value of the grain lies in the bin.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it's like the reserve, like the real true value is how much you have in reserve.
Yeah. Especially
in questionable times like these, right?
Well, I read an article. China has 1.5 years worth of grain stored. Like they know something's coming. They've been buying grain.
And even that doesn't seem like a lot.
Well,
I mean, when you've got how many billion people, then I suppose.
Well, if you have another devastating year where you get no crop, then yeah, now you only have half a year. But I mean,
Sure.
I think it's enough. I mean, you're expecting somewhere in the world somebody's harvesting, right? I think there's only like a month or something,
All the time, and nobody's
right, with one of those charts or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know where it's going. From the articles that I read, all signs point to going up. I watched the House of Commons debate there a little while ago, and they're talking about 1 in 5 Canadians being $200 away from insolvency. Mm-hmm. So I don't know who's going to pay for it if it goes up. I mean, apparently we're broke already, so I don't know how. Right? I mean, it's the whole economics of high school has all that learning is now gone totally out the window.
It's void.
There's no supply and demand issue anymore. The supply is down, the demand is up, the price is going wherever. I mean, oil I think was $77 a barrel again today.
We're into algebra territory now.
It's just everything makes no sense. So I don't know. My dad and I were actually talking about that just before I came over here. Like maybe prices will strengthen in the new year. It's like to say they're down is silly, right? Canola is $18.
Oh, it's not down.
We used to be happy at 10, but it was 27.
Yeah.
So I mean, it did lose $10.
Sure.
But we're talking about such extremes now, and I don't know anymore.
Yeah, well, I've never seen so many commodities actually just rise and fall with such extremes. Like I stopped at the gas station yesterday, and I seen a guy there. He's like, he was ready to pull the nozzle out and just pour gas all over the ground because he's just like, oh, it's so cheap. It's so cheap. It was $1.38. And he's like, oh yeah, it's probably even cheaper in Edmonton. I was like, no, it was $1.46 in Edmonton. It was more expensive there. So I don't know what's driving that. But he's like, oh yeah, like 2 weeks ago it was almost $2. So yeah, it's quite. Jerry Bear's asking about the price of fertilizer. Actually,
that's one thing we haven't even priced out yet. We kind of do that stuff in the new year because we don't like to take delivery of it. We'll pre-buy some, but I mean that's another thing my dad and I were talking about. I mean we've taken delivery of some fertilizer once about, I don't know, 15 years ago. Yeah. And we're going to look to do it again this year. Actually take delivery of it so we actually have the product because. Maybe what if we can't get it or whatever?
Best to secure it. Well, that's kind of where I was going with that feed stuff too. Like I always want to have our winter hay kind of put up and put aside and under wraps by at least the beginning of August.
Yeah.
Right. And whether I'm farming it or I'm buying it, one way or the other, I would like that secured, but before the weather starts to cool down, right? Mm-hmm. But I see a ton of folks out there. December, January, February, even like who's got one round bale? Like they're buying a bale at a time.
Yeah.
They probably are land limited or machinery limited or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I always fear for folks like that because what are you going to do when you can't get it? Or what do you do when instead of $75 a bale, it's $350 a bale? We saw it,
mm-hmm.
right? Or in other cases where the stuff you can get is so nutritionally, like, just devoid of all nutrition. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we saw that definitely last year with a lot of producers that didn't have anything secured or feeding anything that you could wrap up. Like,
that's one unfortunate thing that I'm starting to see a lot of. And in no way am I an expert. However, like you and I were talking about before this, I'm surrounding myself with actually a lot of feed experts. Yeah. There's a lot of things happening kind of behind the scenes over there. Like we had I guess you'd call it a meeting like 2 days ago where there was 2 representatives from a supplement company came up.
Because you're on board with
we talked for
Westway and Bullseye.
Westway and Bullseye now. Yeah. We talked for quite a few hours about specific situations in the Peace Country. These guys are more feed consultants, and they said we've done a lot of feed testing up here.
Yeah.
And the first few years I did this, and knowing the neighbors and the kind of the way they operate, and listening to my dad and talk about the way that he was brought up and the way he saw people operate, and the way they even operated when they had cattle, it's very much like you say. We're always feeding. The very very few people do feed tests, right? Like they were asking us as grain farmers, they did, how often do you soil sample?
Yeah,
we soil sample like once every 5 years.
Yeah.
Rarely changes,
and
we do not enough anyways. We never fertilize to the soil sample.
Sure.
It's just not. We don't have good soil here.
Yeah.
So when I seen that beef and livestock producers are doing that as well. It's certainly nothing against them. It's just that's the reality of it. We're wrapping up all our hay and we're saying, okay, I need 100 bales. I got 140. I'm good for the year. We leave it at that.
Yeah.
But we don't know what it is. We don't test it. We don't really check into body condition, without just kind of looking, oh yeah, it looks good. But we don't get in there and measure and do all these things. Stuff I didn't even know you could do. So we're learning all that now.
Yeah.
And I think, even so from a grain side, I know that if you do a little better, it'll be a little better, weather permitting.
Sure.
And from a livestock side, I'm seeing that now too. We noticed it big last year. People said when it came to lambing and calving and all that stuff, a lot of people who talk to these consultants and talk to these people and use these other avenues of feeding, other avenues of getting vitamin, mineral, micronutrient into the animal, they did a lot better.
Yeah.
Like and those who started earlier on, they did a lot better than those who started later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's something that people have to realize, coming into winter, prepping for that is looking at their supplement program, looking at their feed program, getting the feed tested and making a plan, learning the numbers. And lots of them admit there might be cheaper options, but all we're here is to present you with an option.
Yeah.
Right. And lots of them are, even willing to work with, even if you don't want our stuff, we'll still figure out.
Still run some numbers for you. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. No tie rocks on. Talking about, did we get the freezing rain this morning? Yeah, we had freezing rain last night and in the wee hours of this morning. I come back from Edson yesterday. It was raining from Grand Prairie all the way to the farm here. So
Jerry Bear says it's cutting in and out. I don't know if you can hear me at all, Jerry Bear, but your best bet, bud, is going to be to hop over onto YouTube. I don't know if you're even on that, but if you look up our Smoke and Oak logo on and find that on YouTube, that's where 90% of the people watch us from. And we can follow those comments a lot better.
The TikTok's just a net to kind of reel people into
just a bypass highway to link you back into get you
back into the fold.
Get you around.
Yeah. How's your cigar?
It's really good, and that's soaking the tip really stopped it from unraveling.
Yeah, I think that was right uptown.
I haven't had a mouthful of tobacco yet.
You haven't had a dip.
No, I'm not. And I'm liking that. But it's, what are we into the half? I'm just getting to the halfway now.
Yeah, I probably get 3.5.
So
3.5, 4 inches there. So I don't think we're quite half.
But it hasn't changed.
No, it's very consistent.
Working into that second third there.
Very mild.
And what a good cigar.
Really
what
good.
What a good, even.
I think if we had a box of these, it probably wouldn't hurt my feelings.
No, absolutely.
I'm not saying we need to go buy a box. I'm just saying it's a really good cigar. So.
If I could ever figure out a way to order them, Justin knows a place to order cigars from.
Well, there's Cigar Chief. That's a place, but that's a Canadian outlet.
Okay.
The challenge, they have lots of stuff sold out or really long delivery times. And then cigarbid.com. That's another one. But I've seen some guys go crazy and they'll drop $5,000 on a cigar.
Yeah.
So you can really get out some wild numbers there. And then my buddy Chris actually let me know of another website, but I forget what it was called now. But he gets lots shipped up, and they're kind of pretty plain packaging. They don't say anything. If it hits customs, you pay the duty, but sometimes on occasion a thing might slide through, and you get it at a reasonable price, right? But old Justin's got to get his piece, right? So
absolutely,
yeah, take a $10 cigar and turn it into a $35 cigar.
That's the real sin when you get to doing the research. A lot of these reviews, you're going to find them on a cigar website that has cigars for sale. And they're calling this, not this particular one, but it's even called $8 cigar. Yeah, I'm thinking we just paid $27.
We just paid $28 for it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's criminal.
That's unfair as that is.
Yeah.
Can't have nice things.
No doubt.
What else we got? We got. So I had a winter project prep. So if you're fortunate enough to have a heated shop or a shop at all, you're going to need something to do over the winter. Winters are long here. The sun comes up at 10 o'clock in the morning on the shortest day, and it's down by 1 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I think there are 4-hour days of sunlight here. So
Well, yeah, a month from now, for sure we will.
You need something. No.
Yeah.
That's
40 of vitamin D and something to do.
and that well, I mean, yeah, and that might be your 2 week vacation or your Airbnb in Mexico or whatever, or it might be a project in the shop, right? A furniture renovation or a machine renovation or something like that. But you do need something because idle hands are not it's not ideal.
Yeah, no. Idle hands reach for remotes, and then you rot on the couch.
And then you're out on the couch. That's not the best outlet. You're going to find yourself down all sorts of physical, mental health issues.
For sure you will.
Yeah.
Which it is. It is November too, right? So it's Men's Health Month, right? So pretty timely conversation. You know what? I haven't seen really anything. Every other year, I've always seen like lots of stuff about November and lots of things about men's mental health. But this year, it's been like radio silence. And I don't know if I'm just not looking in the right place, but that's not something that a guy should really have to go searching for. It should just be promoted and it should just be out there. And I don't know why it's not.
Yeah, I haven't heard a whole bunch.
Maybe because there's so much apathy out in the world nowadays. I'm not sure. But
I don't know what that was. Yeah, that could be. I got to admit that I haven't. Well, I mean, we were talking about that 2 days ago, like how fast it's gone. Like basically the summer into the spring into the summer into the fall. It was just bang, and I mean a lot of it was the new house build.
yeah,
And then what, like with everything going on, the spring, the seeding, the harvest. The harvest was crazy. Pretty soon it was just bang, and then we moved right into feed season, and yeah, like not every tractor. I mean, my old telehandler doesn't even have a radio, so it's just all day, and then go in and go to bed.
yeah.
So I haven't been looking for that. But
That's something you're gonna do a retrofit on. You're gonna
no, I don't think so.
put a subwoofer behind the seat.
I don't think so. I got the old cockshut in the shop. That's got.
It probably has no radio.
No, it doesn't. I think it might have had a provision for one. It might have been
really?
an option. I don't know, in 1970, whatever, 72 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I should look. I was looking in the book because thankfully we had the book, like the whole parts, not the parts, the service manual.
Service manual, yeah.
Because when that wiring fried, of course, there was only like 8 wires, and I mean, if you're a mechanic, I'm sure we would have been just bing bang bong. Right?
Sure.
But I'm not.
Yeah.
So I was like, well,
all trial and error, right?
Right, and we have like rolls and rolls of wire from all over the place. So we had like the right colors and everything, and I followed it. Like, okay, this is the headlight one, and it goes here, and this. And I got it all. It even starts with the key. I was pretty impressed when that happened. That was a big win for me. But I wanted to paint
some rusty nail to start it.
Absolutely, yeah. When you're hoping that it's in neutral so it doesn't run you over.
Yeah.
Well, my dad was telling me a story when he was in there. I guess my grandpa pulled that stunt. He started it from the ground, and it run him over. But halfway through running it over, it hit a tree and stalled. And I guess my grandma didn't know how to run the tractor, so she had to go down to the store, find somebody to come and drive the tractor off of them.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, of course, like tractors are heavy, but it would have been whatever, like a Cockshutt 50. Or
yeah,
whatever.
you just pushed him into the dirt or whatever. But
yeah, I don't. He didn't get into the aftermath.
He probably had a limp for a while.
I think he spent a little time in the hospital.
Yeah.
But, it sounded funny.
No doubt.
As unfunny as getting run over.
That'd be wild.
When you run yourself over it, there's a certain level of hilarity goes with it.
Yeah.
What else we got? So I had winter project prep. That's you're gonna figure out what you're gonna do.
Do you have a winter project?
That's
the tractor.
I got the Cockshutt, and I got. I mean, we got several grain trucks. We got to look at radiators that were leaking. That
sure.
We really noticed this fall. We noticed we had radiator issues. Never before have we had grain trucks overheat.
Yeah.
Like normally it's 2 degrees and it's November and you're trying to get the last stuff combined, or it's October and it's been -5 and snowed 3 or 4 times. But when you combine in 30-degree weather, and you're like, well, I've never blown this rat off ever.
Yeah. No, we had the same thing out in Rio Grande, 3 combines, and we were just rotating, just switching them out, letting one cool off for an hour, and we drive the other one for an hour until it was spewing glycol everywhere.
It was amazing.
And then the one I had, it was like beep, 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 beep. We've probably seen that TikTok, eh?
Yeah.
Beep, 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 beep. I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty normal for this operation. But I had wheeled it back to the yard and I parked it and just, we'll just leave it and cool off. I'll blow it all out, whatever. And in the morning, it'll be good to go again, right? Because it was already by that time close to midnight. Come the next morning, fired it up right away. Beep, beep, beep. I'm like, well, that can't be because it's only 8 degrees or whatever it was first thing in the morning. Popped the hoods off and apparently, yeah, I had electrical fire under there. It got so hot it melted a whole bunch of wires together. It was the wiring for the rad temperature sensor.
Mhm.
So of course they melted together and alarm bells away you go, right? Yeah, I've never seen temperature like that at harvest season.
I don't even know how they do it like where it's hot, like Australia or like Texas and stuff. I don't understand.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
Like, how do the machines even take it? Like, even our Kenworth, and I've had them all. Like, they got that air cooler rad, and then they got the rad. I've had all that off, cleaned it all up, new thermostats. Like the antifreeze is mixed properly, and it just about couldn't handle it. I mean, you'd be running, it'd be like 210, 220,
Sure,
climbing the hill.
yeah. She's just
And you're
ready,
like-
just touching the buzzer.
just ready to beep, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, the combines, they ran cool. Of course, my mom, she runs the one, and she's very much a monitor watcher. Like, she rarely has anything go wrong.
Yeah.
My dad was running the other one, and yeah, we blew those rads out. Those rads in the air filters twice a day. We'd blow them out.
Yeah.
It was just everything just turned right
But
to
it was
powder.
It was dusty though, so no rain, right? So,
No, when you thrashed it, everything, like the stuff that come out the back of the combine, even the straw we were dropping for the guys to bale was just like
dust.
dust.
Yeah.
Just a line of dust. It was
Yeah.
amazing. So we got, like I said, we got rads to fix. We got, we found all those. We found problems that we didn't know we had.
Yeah.
Because when you're running, like I said, when you're running at 2 degrees and it's freezing or snowing or whatever, overheating is usually not an
Probably
issue.
not on your list of things.
Right? You're all bundled up because you got to heat blasted and it's still cold and
you can't keep it warm enough in there.
So amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Glenn's on. He said he's wondering if the sled's all ready to go for winter. I've actually already had it out a few, probably 3-4 times.
I seen you were snowmobiling a bit.
Pull the kids around on the toboggan. That was a pretty good time. Our southwest pasture, there's lots of anthills in there.
Oh yeah.
And of course we got a foot of snow, right? So there's enough to go skidooing or whatever, but you feel everything underneath the toboggan, right? So being that there's lots of anthills, it was kind of, let's do a little bit of slalom here and go back and forth and just launch those kids right off the top of an anthill, eh? It's the funniest thing when they just start cartwheeling through the air. It's because they're made of rubber, right? They bounce and whatever. It's good for them. But of course, they all come into the house for hot chocolate, and they got snow packed in like inside their snowsuits and stuff, right? So, well, they had a good time. But yeah, the old Mountain Max is running like a charm this year. So
Excellent.
Yeah. Best thing I ever did was get it up on a dolly and get it inside the shop, and yeah, that worked out good.
Mm-hmm.
And what else we got here? Wheat King says big heated shop is the best investment this farm has ever made. Work on combines all winter. Yeah, same for us. Well, this building here, this was the first piece of infrastructure we built, and we've done so many winter projects. Like our greenhouse that we grow vegetables in all summer was built just down there in a weekend, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of neat to have that, right?
You really need to have something to get out of even just to get out of the weather. I mean, especially nowadays, shops are massive investments. Especially finish shops, concrete floors, wired, heated, everything. I mean, you're looking at big dollars. But even if you can, I mean,
you're $100,000 just to start.
Absolutely. There was a guy I went over. I picked up some stuff for. He was doing some welding for me, just some small stuff. And yeah, he just had basically a coverall. He had a little spot there where he could fire up a ready heater or whatever if it was really cold. But like he said, he bundled up and he could get his work.
Sure.
He just needed to be out of the weather and the snow. So you just not only do your livestock need some shelter, but if you're going to be doing a lot of farm specific things, you're going to need something to get you out of the house.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have that, well, I guess good luck going to town every weekend and
Yeah,
trying to find your
you're
entertainment
that's
there,
you're gonna
right?
have to,
Because
yeah.
it's going to be costly.
White knuckling it into the city to do something, right? But
So aligned with that, was kind of household prep. You're going to be in northern Alberta. You're going to be spending a lot of time indoors. So if you don't have a shop at all, you better have something in the house that isn't the new PlayStation 5. Like I don't think
Yeah.
that's the best way to spend your winter.
No,
So you're
no,
gonna
not at all.
you're gonna want to, and you're gonna want to have that figured out. I know quite a few people that have a lot of trailer issues, and nothing wrong with living in a trailer. We lived in one for 2.5 years, but they come with their own problems.
Yeah, we lived in one for 2 years when we were in town, actually, and like you say, a whole different set of problems that you wouldn't normally encounter in a house.
And if you're not at all able-bodied or mind to take on these tasks, you're gonna struggle a lot. Like this is,
Yeah.
the heat trace, the insulation under it.
Yeah.
These are things you want to have figured out in August,
Mm-hmm.
not January 15th,
That's right.
because now you've got damage, you've got
Yeah.
snow to shovel away from the skirting to get in there, you've got frozen this, and it's tremendous.
Usually
So,
stuff is breaking when it gets like on. Yeah.
and that's your necessities of life, right? Your water, your shelter, your heat, these things that you can't live without, and now you've pushed it off too long.
Yeah, when you got frost on the toilet bowl, you're about to have a tough day.
So that's one thing you also want to make sure that your household projects, certainly your outside projects around your house, are done, and then whatever's going to tide you over because we're going to hit some harsh weather too. We do every year.
Oh, for sure. Well,
So
I
when
think
it's
February is usually, for me, I find it's when it gets like -40 for 2 weeks. We had -50 with the wind chill right last year.
But even at that, I mean, heated shops and everything are great. And yeah, you can work on them too. But when you get done your daily tasks of feeding your livestock and everything like that, it's just enough to get the tractor out, get the animals fed, and get it back in to thaw out again. You really don't feel like wrenching. You often those times you got the vehicles inside. You've got, depending on how big your shop is, maybe you got a 10 bay shop, and it doesn't matter. For lots of farms, that's not the reality. Certainly not the reality on ours. So by the time you get that week of -40, you got the wife's car in there for an emergency. Plus, and now you're stuck in the house.
Yeah,
because there's just no room in the shop.
Room in the shop.
Everything you need is in the shop, making sure that the next day you can function.
Yeah, and I can't even disagree with that. Like, I know yeah, you're right. When it's -40, we've got the tractor, we've usually got the side-by-side, the lawnmower, the ride-on lawnmower is in here pretty much all year long anyways. And then the wife's SUV. And I mean, you're literally like squeezing by stuff just to get in and do anything. But,
so you got your whatever it is. Say it's 14 days a year where you're going to be tied to the house.
Yeah.
And I mean,
well, what do you do with that 14 days a year?
Well, and I was going to say, so if you're totally exhausted and you can actually use it just to some downtime with the kids, that's great too.
Sure.
But
sure,
I know for myself,
bake some bread.
Like I say, I can't, even on a holiday, I can't lay on the beach. I don't, and I'm not Mr. Ambitious. I'm not saying that, but I can't just sit for the sake of sitting.
No.
Right. So there has to be something to do, and there usually is. There's whatever. I mean, social media is great. There's lots of stuff to do on there, advertising and things like that. There's book work to do. Usually, there's planning. There's all sorts of things to do. So
social media, I find, is an absolute curse because, like, I'm the type of guy that if I go down, I'm tough to get back up, right? So if I find myself in the big comfy chair and I'm scrolling through Facebook or TikTok, suddenly oh shit, an hour of the day is gone, right? Like, that's an hour of non-productive time, and that's, if you think you just had an extra hour in a day, how much you could get done.
Yeah, well,
it's almost shameful, and I find the same with video games. Like, I absolutely despise video games, not because I don't think they're entertaining or anything like that, but I just think they're a terrible waste of time. Especially for kids, right? When you're trying to teach values to kids and the value of some work ethic and things like that. I don't know. They can just get lost in an alternate world and fucking spend 4, 5, 6 hours, and then they're still pissed off when you go to turn it off, right?
Yeah, well, it definitely has its drawbacks for sure.
Yeah.
We actually hooked up the Wii for the first time in I think 5 years because we had no internet or anything, so we hooked it up.
Well, the Wii's, it's probably one exception I'll give you for the Wii, because there's more of an interactive thing there, and it gets them up and it gets them moving, and there is a little bit of engagement, physical engagement with that, right?
My daughter thought the baseball was about the funniest thing going.
Yeah,
throwing the ball and the other guy trying to bat it. I actually thought that was funny, but it was funny too because, and like you're right, there's something different about it. Even that it's not 9 innings. I think you make like four switches and then it says game over.
Yeah,
and of course, my daughter's 6, so she was good with that.
Yeah,
it was good. That was enough.
Perfect.
And then we didn't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, that's kind of a win. But yeah, it was interesting to see. I think my boy would have been more. He would have had more time for it than she did.
But got sucked in.
Yeah. But he's a little bit too young. He didn't. And that's the other thing too, right? He doesn't get what's going on, so it's not fun either.
I suppose.
He's just crashing the wall, and
sure.
This sucks.
I'm
out of here, right?
Yeah.
So, which is good. I mean, I don't sit him down like, no, get good at this.
He seems like he's like a more practical-minded kid, though, right? Like he wants to do stuff, right?
Oh yeah, he's very much involved.
Yeah,
like and especially now where we moved, like we overlooked that little farmyard, so like right away he's got his snow pants on, he's out feeding the dogs, and then he goes out and feeds the horse and feeds the cows and feeds the chickens.
That's cool what you did there, because like you can look out and you can see your purpose, right, for the kids, right?
Yeah, they're a big fan of that.
Yeah.
So I guess not they. My daughter's a little bit like, meh, take it or leave it.
This is not
right.
Yeah.
If there was.
Well, I mean, it's not for everybody, right? So.
And then, of course, my last bullet point. You got some comments here or what?
Yeah, we missed a few.
Oh boy.
Wheat King says shop rated 150 plus a shop pays quickly.
Andrew's from Scotland.
So, Andrew
is from Scotland. I remember him.
Whereabouts in Scotland?
We gotta make sure if Andrew's still on here. Andrew, we are enjoying a beautiful Scotch from the Highlands.
The Glendronach from Aberdeenshire.
And Andrew, if you're, I heard earlier, Jer Bear there said the connection wasn't so good. If you want to get involved in the conversation, Andrew, jump over onto YouTube and find the Smoke and Oak channel page. It's got the same
logo.
And yeah, pop in over here. We can follow the comments way better on YouTube because we can't.
And then you can see the whole room.
Then you get there's there's 9 or 10 people on over here.
Yeah.
There's always a bit of a conversation going on here. So
that's right. Yeah.
If you can hop over, that's cool.
Chad said the heated shop is absolutely the best investment he's made. Sure takes the stress out of starting equipment to feed. Yeah, I know for us, like we've got that Deutz tractor down there. It wouldn't stand a chance to start. Like it's -5 outside. That thing is not going to start. Needs to be indoors.
Mm-hmm.
Needs like a heat blanket or something, right? And if he said awesome being able to get stuff done, the shop's by far the best investment. Not only getting stuff done in the winter, but being able to prioritize your fall and spring projects. Absolutely. And then Justin wants to know how your Starlink is.
Starlink was good, Justin. I don't know if you read Buddy's comment from the video I made about it.
The old famous TikTok.
When I did he commented on YouTube.
Yeah.
He said it dropped right off. So it's good now. We hit I think we hit a high of like 194 download speed, and then when I did speed testing, it was 40.
Sure.
So I don't know. I mean, I uploaded a YouTube video. It took 20 minutes as opposed to 10 hours. So that was kind of.
Well, I mean, that's already a win, right?
If it goes for heck, then I don't know. I mean, I'll throw the Starlink on Kijiji and sell it to somebody else, I guess. But
strap her to the cock shot.
Enjoy your night. Try to catch you when I get back. Have a shot on me. Okay, yeah, you bet, Andrew. I'd like to say, make sure check out YouTube. Find Smoke and Oak on YouTube, and enjoy work whatever time it is there. He said it's what.
Oh, he's in Scotland. He's not just from
Scotland.
No,
he's in
Scotland.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're 7 hours ahead of us.
Yeah, because he's going to work.
So it's like,
It's 4:13. He says.
yeah.
So,
Morning time.
but yeah, he was in a live I did on TikTok. We had a good chat. He's all time, that guy. Like,
That's
awesome.
cool.
I hope
Yeah.
I hope he joins, subscribes and joins to the YouTube thing. He's fun to talk
He's a
to.
good guy.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. We're actually going to go back to the old country next year.
Yeah. Hook up with Andrew.
We're going to spend a week in the Netherlands, see my wife's side of the family,
Oh, yes.
and then pop back over to England. And I'm not sure exactly what the itinerary is going to look like, but we'll try and touch England, Scotland, and Wales. Well, I mean, we're there for a week, right? So
It's going to be awesome.
you can do that in about 6 hours if you really wanted to. But, yeah. I gotta pick up the pace on this cigar. It's starting to.
Mine went out.
You had to really
mine.
Yeah.
And then my last note I had was the mental health prep.
Because you're about to just get submerged in darkness, eh?
Absolutely. And you come off a fall and a summer like we just had. Like, what an incredible run that was.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a shorts and t-shirts guy, you could have been shorts, t-shirts, and sandals for 90 days straight. Yeah. We had very little measurable rain.
That's right.
Everything was going right. The days were nice. We didn't have hellish winds beating down on us day after day after day. I mean, you could have, no matter what your project was, you could have done it.
Yep. Yeah,
and you could have done it by hand.
That was the year to do it. Yeah.
I mean, if you were like, I remember one year we built bins and we're like, oh man, we got to build this fast and get it bolted down so the wind doesn't blow it away, so it's not hanging from the winch.
Yeah.
You could have built it one piece a day and just been, oh, we're done for the day.
Never ending good weather.
You know, it was absolutely amazing. So we've come from that high, like absolutely full of sunshine. Everything we wanted to get done was done, plus a whole bunch more that we didn't even plan to do. And now we're going to sink right into, I mean, even tonight it's no fun outside.
No, yeah,
cold,
I wouldn't want to be outside.
Icy. Actually, just all around dangerous.
You'll break your goddamn ankle outside right now tonight.
And I mean, we're coming into Christmas, and that's generally a joyous time. I don't really care who you are or where your thoughts and beliefs lie. Christmas, you shouldn't be able to be really grouchy around Christmas. It's a good time.
Yeah, I mean, the Grinch can't be for real.
Right. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that guy. But even he gave up, right? And he said, "Yeah, this isn't that bad."
That's right.
So we're gonna get that little piece, but then we're gonna get 2 weeks here before where we got to start to prep into Christmas. That if you're Grinchy at all, you're not excited about it. You'll get over it by the time it shows up.
Well, I sure hope so. Yeah.
And then after that, now we're gonna have January, we're gonna have February, and a bunch of March can be no fun either.
Lots of times March can be real miserable, yeah.
So if you don't have something to do, something that you like to do, something for yourself, you can be a little bit selfish and say, yeah, this is just something. It's gonna be a lot more of a struggle. Like, I mean, there are lots of introverts out there. You and I both consider ourselves introverts. That gets you by, gets you around, but you don't really excel in life by being that.
No, you do have to get out there a little bit and have some human interaction.
Exactly. You kind of start to exist. You get everything done. You can be successful, but you're not reaching your true potential, I don't believe, until you get out there and you get that human interaction, a little bit of companionship.
Even just stop for coffee once in a while, right?
Absolutely. So that's another big one that like you say, the whole month of November got overlooked. And a lot of this stuff does get overlooked. So that one's key, right? And that's, I agree with you when it comes to social media being a rabbit hole and you can dive down it and spend a lot of time unproductive. But I mean, a lot of this, I mean, I find this really, really good. I really look forward to these nights.
This is cool because it's not just you and I. We've got a whole community that we can chat with, right? Mm-hmm. Like-minded people, and have a drink, have a cigar, wear some uptown clothes,
Yeah, it gives the guy a reason to own a coat hanger.
Speaking of clothes, that was actually one thing I had on my list was for prep for winter was like good clothing for winter for the farm.
That's a big one.
Like I've seen some guys here recently, like out at work, like 19, 20 years old, new to like working in any kind of industry, with like leather work boots with the toes blown out of them, and
that's tough.
It's 20 below, and it's not a financial thing. It's like just a pair of steel toes leather boots is just as much as a pair of Baffins, right? But they're gonna learn some tough lessons, right? So
I worked with a guy in a rig once. He come from Ontario. Had no idea what he was getting into, and I don't know why the office didn't prep him either. But he didn't have gloves.
Didn't have gloves.
And, so he swiped the oven mitts out of the can.
Oh, that'd be right uptown.
But he tricked everybody because he called them nubbin mitts for screwing in the nubbin into the pipe. And I kind of bought it for a while. Like everyone was like, "Oh, that's sweet. We should get some of
those." Yeah.
But no, he just swiped the oven mitts out of the can. So, but I'll never forget old nubbin mitts. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's when you encounter those bad days in January where you're on your hands and knees trying to thaw something out or trying to fix something, it's nice to have the proper insulated pants,
some good gear,
some gloves that allow you dexterity while they're on, or that warm your hands up instantly while you put them back on. If you need to take your, heaven forbid, you need to take your hands off.
Yeah.
I know last winter we had all our waters freeze up, and that's challenging because that's not an option to just like
that has to run.
It's at least to me it's not. I mean, I've heard lots of stories about people like, oh, they just let them eat snow, and I mean, I'll admit too, I've watched them go eat snow when they had a water.
They'll survive, but they won't thrive.
Right, and so to me that's not an option. I mean, I've taken this on to look after X number of head for how long. That's why I try to have them gone by January. Then my stress level is down.
In fairness, there are some years where you get significant amount of snowfall and it's fluffy enough that they can probably consume them. Here, in the last few years, have we received that? No. It's usually you get a little bit, it melts, it gets crusty. No animal's going to go and try and chew the ice off the ground. Like, that's not a good time.
No.
So, yeah.
But I was so when I'm thawing these things out, you get the joy of, I made that little steamer and it was pretty cool. I got that off of some guys that were getting some feed from us.
Yeah.
But coming with thawing out a water line is having it blow into your face.
Yeah.
When it's -40 outside, and I didn't have one to do. I had 6 to do.
Right.
So the first time, you get this figured out, and you're wet, and by the time you're done, your arms are froze. Your hands are froze. Of course, the waters are now all froze, like all around.
All around it, yeah.
And you think like, had I just done this right in September, and I had insulated this properly, and I had shoveled the gravel away, and made, had I done this right then, I would have saved myself a whole bunch of misery on the 24th of January.
Because that's when it's going to go.
That's when it goes.
Yeah.
The worst time. The worst possible time.
Yeah.
We had that 2 years. Sorry, we had that. The only time we had a power outage since we've been living out there was -40, and I think it got so cold the power line broke.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. I remember that actually.
And I was thinking, because I was thinking, why tonight of all nights?
Yeah.
Like, this is the coldest night of the year, and within a few hours, the shop had froze. The waters had froze.
Yeah.
And I got a hand attached. Like,
they were on it.
They were on it.
Yeah.
But our only saving grace is we have a natural gas furnace. I don't really understand why every house in northern Alberta doesn't have that in there. And this was in our little trailer in the addition, and it kept the whole place at 16 degrees.
Just the pilot running?
Just the pilot. Well, like it had kicked on the fire somehow, and I don't know what that was bypassed or not.
But the fan.
But just the fan wasn't blowing.
Interesting.
Because I was actually going to get maybe you're right. Maybe it was running and then the anyways, however it worked, it kept that whole trailer at like 14, 16 degrees.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It was amazing. Absolutely amazing. and I had just got going over the summer.
Oh.
I mean, it hadn't worked because the bees had packed in all the
Sure.
alcite clover heads and
Yeah.
plugged up the
All those leaf cutter bees.
all the pilot lights and or the
Yeah.
all the orifices and everything were all plugged. But I just got all that going, so it kept it running. But
Yeah.
so we were warm, but nothing else was warm.
That's why I keep a couple generators here, because that's my biggest fear is that 40 below, we go down. Well, if this building loses heat, then we lose water to the rest of the farm, and that's not cool, right? So we're gonna keep some heat here, and those little kids, like you can't freeze them out of their beds, right?
No.
You need something there, right? So even just power enough to run, just to keep the furnace going.
Yeah.
We could go by candlelight, or we could do it. The biggest mistake I think we ever made was not putting a wood stove in the house, but I wasn't inclined to pay the extra money for the insurance. But now I start getting natural gas bills and start realizing, well, maybe it would have been worth it.
Yeah, you said it was a lot. Eh? I
yeah.
asked the wife. She said it was 10% more.
Yeah, they wanted $3,000 extra a year for a wood stove, and
we run through the cooperators, and they said, it was 10%. So whatever. I mean,
yeah,
I doubt.
I had a tough time justifying it, anyways. But last February we got that $1,000 gas bill. That was
well, we haven't fired ours up yet.
Burn a lot of free wood for $1,000.
Been no need, but I cut up like I don't know, 1.5 cords of wood.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I don't think I just noticed Glenfiddich on the shelf.
Who's there? Oh,
that's Andrew.
Oh yeah, we've got a vast selection here. But yes, there's a Glenfiddich 12 there. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Kootenai Satterley's on. Awesome. He was making some chaps today.
Oh, was he? I missed him.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I seen it popped up in my notifications, but I missed the live stream. But yeah. Yeah, so for the clothes piece, and we kind of got a bit of tangent there, but the clothes piece, like the boots, I keep a good set of rubber boots with a big thick sole, and they're usually my go-to for that -10 to -15. Then I got some Arctic Sport muck boots for when it gets colder than that. But when it hits -40, then I got the big baffles, right? And same thing with gloves, like the big mitts, but then I got the inner liners or whatever. So you can still, like, if you had to take your mitts off, you don't want to touch that whatever small piece of thing, because you're just going to burn your fingertips right off with ice. So having a set of liner gloves, that's the trick I learned on the rigs years ago, is always have a set of liners inside your Green Kings, and your hands will stay warm, right? And I must have, I got more coats than you. Like, you could throw a stick at, right?
There's a lot of stuff hanging on coat hangers.
Yeah, I know. Like, I got coats for days, because you can never have enough winter coats, right? So you same thing, right? You're fixing the water, or one gets soaked. Well, my days just ruined. Like, the rest of my days just ruined. Right?
Yeah.
So
that's the thing, right? Your coat's done, but you're not.
Yeah, that's right.
So you better have something else.
Yeah, same. I must have 40 pairs of coveralls. Like, I got insulated winter ones, right? Like, nothing's like. I learned some really hard lessons my first winters here. Like, I went straight up to Zama and Rainbow Lake and stuff there, and had some really tough winters. I remember working with a Jamaican guy, actually. His first shift, he come up to Rainbow Lake, and it was -52, and he slept all the way from camp to the rig. And then we got to the rig, and he woke up and looked at the thermometer in the truck, and he's just like, "I'm dead." Like, I'm dead. But I remember being up the stick, actually in Falher, and it was 50 some below there, and I swear to God, I could feel my kidneys crystallizing. It was so cold. Like, of course I'm not.
Yeah.
You have that feeling, right? Like, and so I'm too old for that now. I look like the Michelin Man when it gets cold. I'll just be warm. I've no time for getting cold.
I watched that what it was called, The Mountain Men. I think it's still on, even one of the first series of it. You know that show I'm talking about?
No. If it's on TV, I probably haven't seen it.
It's been on for quite a while. I watched it. We still lived in town. There was a guy from up in Alaska, and he was
Oh, is that where the guys live off grid or whatever? And
Yeah,
they come-
it's one of
they come
them.
to town once a year for yeast and copper.
Basically,
line.
this guy, what the heck? He flew his own plane into his little cabin, and he had a skidoo out there, and he'd do his trap line. He said once he was nestling into his boiled water bath he had in his cabin.
Yeah.
He said, if you don't think being warm is the best feeling in the world, you've never been cold. And I don't think I'll ever forget that. I wish that I would have came up with that. Of course, I'm a little bit younger than that
That's a
old
real
guy,
classic.
and I really expect that he probably knows what cold is like.
He probably does, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But I always thought like that's amazing because like I've been pretty friggin' cold, and one of the coldest times I ever was in my whole entire life was in Oklahoma, of all places,
Really?
because the humidity was like
Oh, I suppose, yeah.
and then, we were talking about this I think on our last, like, oh, there's dry cold. It's a dry cold. Well, we've been getting some humid cold here too that feels really cold. But the agitators on the mud tanks where they suck the water, there'd be huge peaks of frost, and the bridle lines up to Derek were like 6 inches thick of ice. The whole thing looked like a ship.
Or frost, eh?
But even big ice actually on the lines. Like when the derrick shook, all the ice would break and fall off. And I didn't even know this was a thing, but there was like, there's like a 3-week stretch in Oklahoma where they get snow and rain and it gets quite cold.
Yeah.
But of course, when we all saddled up and lined up to go down there, like the individuals we were,
you're not thinking south of Lethbridge. You're gonna get real winter. Right?
We piled in the plane and everyone was excited. Don't take nothing, right? Because everything we had smelled like invert and they wouldn't pass the thing anyways. Well, everything will be down there when you get there.
Yeah.
Don't take nothing, right? It's a new frontier. It's everything supplied when you get there. Well, we arrived, we had nothing.
Well, they don't even wear coveralls, do they? They just wear Wranglers and white t-shirts.
They don't, but we as Canadians were supposed to, and we were drilling for Conoco down there, and they were very much like, no, it's coveralls. It was safer, more safety oriented than anything I ever did in Canada.
Is that right? Eh?
Certainly on ours, across the road, they still, I think they killed 2 people when I was down there. Like it was the different companies working for different oil companies.
Just because it
was totally different.
Yeah.
But no, not where we were. But we had nothing. So I remember sitting beside the pump. I was working derrick, and of course AC rig too. So there's no motor in the pump house.
No,
right? There's a big electric motor.
Sure.
So
cold as balls in there.
There was no heat. No radiator to stand in front of. So I was laying behind the gearbox, like the power into the pump.
Oof.
And I was trying to get warm, and I thought, like, this is nuts.
That's not a good time.
Like, what did people do before? And there was no way to get warm. I mean, yeah, I guess you could have went into the doghouse or whatever, but we didn't have the boiler fired up. I don't think we did. We had the boiler eventually. I don't think we brought it originally. But what a nightmare!
The doghouse is where bus tickets get printed, so you wouldn't find too many guys in there.
No, it was an absolute nightmare. And then after I heard him say that, if you don't think being warm is the greatest feeling, you've never been cold. So then when I got back to Canada, I was like, no, I'm taking my bib overalls, my coat. I had 2 sets, one for up the derrick where I had cut a hole in the back and a hole in the neck so I could put my harness underneath the jacket.
Underneath your jacket, eh?
And then I'm in my heart because I had my own harness. I was like, that's a personal item for me. I'm not wearing the same one that they were cleaning BOPs with, and it's all ripped and shattered.
Yeah,
mine was when I left. When I went drilling, it was just like as new as new. Just handed it off to the next derrick hand, and then I was probably a loser, but he showed it he didn't show it the same attention that I did.
Didn't give it the same respect.
Yeah. But it was so I was never cold up there. Never.
Yeah.
Had my toaster hard hat liner, long johns, always jeans. I never wore sweatpants, but
I know lots of guys that would wear sweatpants. I always thought sweatpants were a sponge, right? Like you just get them soaked in invert. It doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
How many times you wash those things? Like,
just pimples.
It just you get pimples on the thighs of your legs. Just miserable, right? Jeans was always the way to go, but you need a set of long johns underneath, otherwise they'll just chafe all the skin right off your legs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
But that seemed to be able to keep a guy warm. Some Helly Hansen long johns, jeans, coveralls, and the bibs. Underneath, big baffin boots up there.
Yeah.
And you could just be there.
That that warm bath, I tell you, that's got to be my guilty pleasure. That's probably the one thing that since well, as long as we've been here, anyways, that's been my mental health reprieve has been the shower. We built the house. Do you want a hot water tank or do you want an on-demand system? And I didn't even think twice. I want on-demand. I want the biggest on-demand water heater you can put in there because I want to take a 40-minute shower. And I don't even care what the water well does. I'll drill another one, but because that's my happy place, sitting there and just nice and warm and it's just the best feeling ever at the end of the day. Or even at 4:30 in the morning, right? Just have a good hot shower to start your day and get yourself right. So it's always a good time.
We had on demand in town. We got a water tank now, but I guess Corey had a bath the other day. She said you could fill the whole tub up though.
In the new house, you got a water tank too.
Yeah. I don't even really know how that went about. I think that I think maybe somebody scared us off with well water and the on-demand system. Plus, our on-demand system froze in our basement twice in town, so it wasn't installed right. It was kind of turned me off. I don't know exactly what the scoop was, but it actually froze up in the basement.
Oh, really? So that'd be tough. Yeah. See, we're lucky. We got pretty good water, so it's not too harsh on the boiler.
Mm.
And it's been now, what was it, 2018? We built the house. It's been 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had a problem with it.
Well, I couldn't see why. Like our old well that was drilled to 80 feet, that would have ruined everything.
Sure. It's probably.
It was like effectively
sulfur and.
Well, it effectively drilled into a mud puddle and then it stopped.
Yeah.
But the new one is to 150 feet. It's really good water. There's the odd bit of small bit of whatever
sediment or whatever,
little black rock or whatever, but it's really tiny.
A bit of shale comes up.
Just enough to plug the tap or something, eh? And mostly it's in the trailer, so we're not sure if that's still in the line from the old well. We're gonna actually
we get some every once in a while too. We're thinking that just needs to run like an inline filtration system or whatever for.
Well, we put a little one on there, so they're. I guess we had Culligan said it was the best way to go is and you just flush it once a week or whatever.
Yeah,
the rock's falling.
There you go.
There's not much, but So
what else we got here? So food supplies. That's one thing we've seen through the last 2 years. Some empty grocery store shelves. I see back home in the UK right now you can't get eggs.
Oof.
There's a big egg shortage. The government's pitching that it's all this because of the avian flu, right? The bird flu. But a lot of the producers are saying, well, no, like we have eggs. We have eggs coming out our ears, but they won't pay us for them because of course we have the milk mafia here, and they have them there, but they also have it governing the egg industry there too, right? So So they're seeing lots of producers that have supplies, but they just won't send it to market because they're losing money. Well, if they're going to lose money, they might as well keep the product, right? So, which is shameful. But so here we try and grow as much of our own food as we possibly can. We just had a pig done. We're fattening 2 heifers right now. We sent lambs in on Thursday. I don't know if you must have got a call from Mitch, eh? No, I didn't. No, we never got a call yet. So, okay. Well, anyways, lambs are in, so we'll have 3 full freezers of meat, plus the cold room full of potatoes and canned peaches and canned pears and Saskatoon jam and you get that big storm that comes in and you got no power or you're snowed in, you can't get to town. What are you going to do, right?
Well, and that's it. I don't know if you had seen on Facebook there. So that farm out, the Kits out in the homestead, they're out in Good Fair. Donovan Kit,
yeah.
So I guess he was in, I think tonight or last night or whatever. He was at the Grain Bin Brewery talking about getting from your farmer and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, it was actually funny. We were in Save-On today getting some stuff for the party tomorrow. And I always like to go up the meat aisle. I gotta go
Sure.
look. I gotta know what this costs. $50 a kilogram.
Just to see the crimes that are committed up there.
$55 a kilogram. So there was an older couple standing there talking about how expensive meat was, and then there was a younger guy, a little bit older than me, standing there talking about meat. And I was kind of just eavesdropping a little bit, looking at all the pricing. They said, "Well, what are you getting?" I said, "I'm not getting anything. I just want to look."
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh yeah, no, it is pretty expensive, eh?" And I said, "Well, I don't need anything." So when we got the dialogue going, why don't I? And so I brought up our Peace Country Food Connection, and I showed them. I said, like, look at you guys. Like,
there's another option here.
Do you not understand that this exists? Like, you know, it boggles my mind that people, like, have they never left the city? Like, do they not know there's cows roaming the pastures?
The only thing I see people looking for is this time of year is people are looking for eggs.
Okay.
You know, or midsummer, somebody's going to be looking for a lamb. Well, they're 40 pounds,
Mhm.
so no, we're not going to sell you a lamb, right?
Well, I brought it up. I said, look, you could get most of this stuff for around $8 a pound all in, $12 a pound all in.
Yeah.
And
or less in many cases.
Here you're looking at 25.
Yeah.
Well, then we got to take. I said, I realize that, but there's options. I mean,
you do.
Do you live on a one house street?
Yeah. Do a crop share where like split an animal four ways with your neighbors.
And we didn't get. We didn't carry the conversation on too long. I mean, I carried on with my neighbor, but I'm thinking, like, there's 3 of you here right now. Now, I realize an older couple probably doesn't have much need for 1,000 pounds of meat, but this guy, he probably has need for a little more. So there's a half and half split right there.
That's right. Yeah, he might take a half, you take a quarter, and then the other neighbor takes a quarter.
And yeah, if each of you even know at least one other person, there you go. Now you only need to take a quarter, and right. The money, the money you would save. And you and I talked about this a lot. People will complain about food as they throw it away. I just loaded a bag on a guy before I came here, and we were talking for quite a while. And he was explaining to me the situation he encountered. I guess is someone he knows, his kid or whatever. I don't know if it was his kid or someone his kid knows. They're in the Loop program anyways. Sure. And he said he did the math. They throw out at least a steer a day at the Loop program in Grand Prairie.
Really?
Like he said, the one that they got 25
and that's
boxes
from
of meat.
Like one grocery store.
I think it was. He said they're there once every 2 weeks or whatever. He said he counted it up. It was 25 boxes of meat.
I think it's the Superstore in Grand Prairie that does that.
So, and he said last winter it was minus 35. He was sitting outside after like a few hours of pulling the calf, sitting in the barn with it, getting it warmed up. And then, and then that realization that somebody just, after all of his work and then raised it up, then someone threw it away.
Yeah. It's almost enough to bring you to tears.
Well, I could see, like, it meant quite a bit to him while he was telling. And I thought, like, I know, man, I don't get it either. So this whole get to know your farmer thing, I really believe it's coming around. When we had a lot going on this summer, but friends of ours, they did a ton of canning for Corey. Yeah. Right. So I think they said she brought over like 100 and some jars, everything.
Oh, good.
I mean, Corey was doing that farm bound thing, so she ran up to Dawson and got two flats of peaches and all sorts of things, and just dropped them off there. Here's one for you, one for me, if you don't mind doing all the canning at once. And they did. So that was the first thing we filled up in our new house, was the cold room.
Good.
There's just a tremendous amount of food. We got the upright freezer in the pantry, the upright freezer in the trailer. There's a chest freezer in the shop. There's the freezers on both fridges. Everything's full, or the meat is on its way, right? So it'll all be full. We just picked up 3 pigs today and dropped them off to where they needed to go. Yeah. So, it's
a good place to be, I tell you. Have that kind of food security, right? So, there's that. We talked about putting your stuff away before you lose it till spring. Compost and manure. How many people get their gardens prepped in the fall? And how many people panic in the spring?
I harrowed mine flat.
You harrowed it flat.
That was it.
Well, that's the time, right? Is to get your manure on there now, whether it's fully broken down compost or preferably actually manure. You've still got quite a bit of microbial activity sitting there. It's going to go dormant, of course. It's going to break down slowly over the winter, and that's better than just putting it on hot and then just expecting it to break down rapidly, because then, of course, you get scabby potatoes and all kinds of stuff in there, right? But let it break down slowly over the winter, and then as soon as that warmth hits it in the spring, boy, it's just a hive of life, right? It's a great place to put your garden in. Give it a bit of a head start, right? So we must have put, I don't know how many, probably 40 yards of 2-year-old manure in there. Just worked it all in. I'm not a big fan of tillage, rototilling, but we're dealing with, I mean, clay is as hard as this table, right? So we're gonna have to, and that was my thing this year, is I was gonna go no till, but I just couldn't get there, right? The soil's just not amended enough yet.
Yeah.
But so actually, I got a bunch of arborist chips last year off the guy. He was cutting down underneath the power line, so that was my mulch layer. And then this fall, actually, I burned all the chips. Just went with the tiger torch and just lit them up, and they smoldered for a week. It's kind of a hot, stinking mess, but and then just worked all that in there too with the manure and everything. And I think next year's the year. I think we're going to have giant pumpkins, and that's going to be the ticket. We had really good potato crop this year, but not so much on carrots. Pumpkins we had lots, but they were only this big. So
we were fairly unsuccessful with ours.
Yeah.
With almost everything we tried.
Is that right? Eh?
But could have been a bit of neglect as well.
Yeah, we definitely shortchanged them some water this year. That's for sure. Well, we took our vacation, our whole family vacation during the hottest 2 weeks of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So there was, I mean, all the animals were on pasture and everything. There was nothing, no animal welfare issues, right? But it was definitely a garden neglect year for sure. But yeah. So get that done in the fall, and then you'll be ready for spring. The other thing I got is reliable vehicles. You know, I don't know how many people like have some shit box stuck in a snowbank or whatever. Especially if you got the young kids or something like that. It's not a good place to be.
No,
we live in some of the most unfriendly climate in the world. And I remember when I first came here, the first truck I ever bought was a 1973 Ford F-250. And I was pretty proud of it. It cost me $357 at an auction market. Rebuilt the motor in it. First trip up to Valley View to work on the rig, I thought, oh yeah, this is just golden. Hey, I'm driving. This is just great. Finished my shift, go to drive back. I hit that hill in Whitecourt. Couldn't even make it up the hill. Like just gutless, spinning the tires, just a piece of shit. Just an absolute piece of garbage. So now, I mean, we don't always have like new vehicles, but we always try and keep like something that's it's gonna start, right? It's got to start. Kids got to go to hospital or whatever. It's gonna start, and it's big enough that if you do end up in a snowbank, you're gonna drive out of there.
Yeah.
And get out, because that's not for me. Or if you end up in there hard enough that you can't get out, well, it's big enough that it's going to protect the kids, right?
Yes. Oh, that is very true. I mean, fortunately, they've evolved, right? I mean, there was quite a time there through the 80s, right? For sure. I mean, my mother always drove a car. It was quite a it was just cars. And now, of course, people don't realize how young it is. Basically out west, if you will.
Oh, very young.
Very, very like unsettled and wild still. Like even in the 80s, people didn't go to town.
No.
They didn't go to Grand Prairie. Like we go to Grand Prairie twice a day.
Because you couldn't reasonably get there.
No, they used to go to Grand Prairie once a year.
Yeah.
Like my dad said they never went. When my dad, they said he had train service twice a day and they didn't go.
Yeah.
Like they got on the train to go. Like that's how young it is. That was my dad.
Yeah.
So yeah, through the 70s and 80s, they went to town once a month.
My mom still tells stories of once a week they would go from Leslieville to Rocky Mountain House to haul the milk in with a horse. And it was a 13-hour round trip.
It's crazy.
Like it's wild.
So, but now with with the invention of the SUV, or the creation, the assembly of it, and the bigger vehicles, 4-wheel drive and stuff like that. We're on the road a lot more, so with that comes the responsibility of staying on the road or limiting your. I mean, we talk about that all the time. We, of course, we're in a slightly different spot. I work from home, right? I farm full time, so I don't need to be on the road all the time.
Yeah.
But I shake my head when I see or my dad tells me, the neighbor, gets up and they're retired as well, but they get up every day at 8 o'clock and they're gone. even when the buses are canceled.
They just go into town.
Let's go wherever.
Yeah.
Let's go for a drive. You think like
taking their life in their
well,
hands,
I mean, not only that, but I mean, when you encounter an issue, now you're relying on first responders to help you,
put other people
fire.
at risk.
You know,
Yeah.
in this, you know, you have a little bit of a responsibility to. That's a touchy one. People don't want to be limited, right? They want their freedoms, and they want, I can do this. You certainly can, but you should be a little more responsible.
If you make good choices, then other people don't have to make choices for you, right? Put other people in a tight spot, right? So, Tamboror Station, Candace's challenge. How many days can you stay at the farm without going to town? Oh, if it weren't for work, like if it weren't for having to pay the bills, almost indefinite.
Who said that?
Kent.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Like
if I didn't have little kids that wanted to go to the water park once a year, fuck, I don't think I'd ever leave.
Yeah, well,
we got a
pool and everything. Like we're set up. Like the one summer I don't think we even left all summer long, so I can go to work. Right. If I could convince my wife to get a milk cow, which she's just talking about maybe going back to work here now, so that's probably definitely not going to happen. But probably, maybe, definitely not going to happen. But if it were that, we would have no need at all to go to the grocery store.
Nope.
You know, so.
No, that's it. You'd forego some of the luxuries, oranges and lemons and things like that.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't have to. I mean, you can still can lots of that stuff earlier in the year. Right?
Oh, that's true.
You know, so.
So that while there'd be a certain amount of prep goes in, that's chances from Kansas.
Oh, okay. I wonder how the weather is there.
Like, if you're on there, Chance, did I get that right? Are you from Kansas? He's a custom farmer.
Not anymore.
And a farmer. So
how's your whiskey doing?
It's not too bad. I still got a little bit.
You want to just
a smidge more. Smidge? I can't. The 46 stuff. I still got an icy road. I got an icy road to contend with.
Say when.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's certainly a point of pride for me. I know people, and it really should be for anybody that is that self-sufficient. What the heck? This kind of shocked me too. Like my kids are quite young, but with everything that happened over the last 3 years, they've been asking a lot of really outside their age group questions about food security.
Yeah. About
safety, about a lot of things, and I've never been more proud to be involved in a farm family, have the farm that my parents built.
Sure.
To be able to say, like, look, you won't go hungry.
Yeah.
Like, at all, ever. Like, that's not. It won't ever be even. Well, I guess you really can't say that never, but at this point, the thought of going hungry should never cross your mind.
We have a better means to mitigate it than anybody.
There's a tremendous amount of food already processed, frozen, canned, stored. Yeah. There's bins of wheat that you can make bread. There's peas, you can make pea soup. There's oats, if you had a dehauler, you can make rolled oats. There's livestock that's alive. There's livestock that's processed and ready to be eaten. There's livestock coming up, or livestock are the community around us, the people that we know. There's thousands of head of livestock, from chickens to pigs to turkeys to lambs to. Yeah. It's just not an issue.
Yeah. Well, if the world stopped turning tomorrow, and if you were to take out the existing livestock that we have, and just say, what do we have in a current state of storage? We have nearly a 2-year food supply, like currently sitting here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we're in a pretty good spot.
It's amazing. I know even trips to the grocery store are truly amazing. A little bit of fresh vegetables and stuff, and I mean, as fresh as they are, shipped from California. But
you can't get romaine lettuce anymore, and if you do get it, it's like $9 or $10 a head.
Exactly. So I mean, my dad and I were just talking about that too. He said, like, his whole entire winters, his whole entire life as a young child was meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
Like you said, we had Christmas oranges around Christmas, a week either way. That was it. And now we have, right? I mean, you and I are both critical of that. When you need to wake up and have avocado toast in the morning,
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of
you're
avocado
not
toast.
you're not very self-sufficient at
No,
that point.
no, you're not. No,
I mean, that
you're
thing's
relying
that
on
thing's got
you're
a bigger
relying on the
passport than I
demise.
do.
You're relying on the demise of somebody else's ecosystem just to have your bougie breakfast, right? So
When yeah, simple bacon on bread or and with an egg would be
it
sufficient.
would be sufficient.
And that's the other thing. I mean, we're thumbing our nose at arguably some of the best food on the planet. Like, oh, I don't want to eat roast beef and potatoes. We have really good beef.
You have exceptionally good beef here, yeah.
I don't want to have pork chops. With like really good pork. With we produce really good animals. Right? I mean, you and I have talked about the lamb market being such a small piece of the protein pie around here. It's a pretty good chunk of meat.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, when you talk to doctors and things about it, it's arguably one of the best.
It's exceptionally, like it's one of the highest nutrient dense, I should say, meats out there. You don't get a lot on an animal, but the actual nutrition you get off the animal is significantly higher per pound than any of the other red meats,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it has a unique flavor, and
Well,
some folks, beef is one of those things that it goes well with anything. So does pork, so does chicken, lamb. You got to be a little bit more creative. You got to take a little bit more exotic touch to some of the flavors, right? So,
well, that's true. Well, we had
but
some.
if you're hungry, well, I wouldn't turn my head away from it, right?
No. Well, we had lamb the other night. It was really good. It was really
We
good.
actually got the one we sent to the butcher. It's a year old, and we're gonna grind the whole thing and make sausage.
Oh yes.
Because I just love lamb sausage. It's just great, right? Good for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Like it's just amazing, right? So yeah. What did we miss? Some comments there. So Ken says, for me this week, sold the calves, paid some of the bills, 6 trips in 5 days. Otherwise, about once a week to town. Yeah, we had a busy week too. We run our lambs in, and that was, I don't know. For me, I've had a lot of work. I put 10,000 kilometers on this month and last month, so that's getting old fast. But kind of yearn for that, to be able to just stay home, right? But Jeremy said maybe if it hadn't been driving to town for 23 years, I'd like to go. No doubt. Chad says his wife won't take him grocery shopping. Apparently he's embarrassing. So he dodges that bullet. Sometimes you got to go there and just be that guy and stir the pot once in a while, right? So.
Well, I didn't. I kind of stopped myself today because I didn't really feel it was my place to stand inside Save on Foods and try to sell farm direct meat. But it is truly shocking to hear to see so much trouble and an easy way out of it, at least on the meat side of it.
I'll never not do that. If somebody wants to have a conversation, I don't have to sell my meat, but I still feel there's a duty to.
Well, and that could be. I mean,
educate them.
I hooked them up with the with that Facebook page. I think there's a lot of value in it. I mean, I seen somebody post the other day like how would I get in contact with someone I need some steak and some roast or whatever. And I thought,
yeah.
What I mean, good on him, but I thought, like, what a foolish question to ask on a page that, like, you should just read the room. Just ask for it.
Just to say, this is what I'm looking for.
You don't need to ask, how am I supposed to go about this? It's easy. Just say, this is what I'm looking for.
This is what I want. I know. The producers will come to you. That guy actually, he did send me a message, and I said, I apologize. That's not what we have. We have eggs, and of course we have lamb, and we have usually sometime of the year we have pork or whatever. And spelled out the options. Never heard from him again, and that's fine. That's not what he was looking for, but
yeah,
maybe 6 months from now or a year from now, maybe he is looking, right? So, I think that page is really, really good. I wish more people would use it, and less people would use, like you say, the Save on Foods or the Safeways of the world. And
Well, I just can't even, like even when I was looking through all the different things, like the trickery now, like things are so expensive that you really have to look because it's no longer packaged in like it's no longer packaged as a pound. It's like 850 grams
Yeah.
because a pound is so expensive.
Yeah.
So they say it's it's $25 a pound,
Yeah.
but then you look and you're like, oh, this package is only whatever $8. But then you actually look, it's only 648 grams.
Yeah.
It's not even a pound.
Yeah.
I did that with cheese today. She said, well, you should get some cheese. We'll make a cheese platter. Cheese is expensive.
Cheese is terribly expensive. Yeah.
Like nobody in the house eats cheese except for me.
Yeah.
And I don't like it that much to spend $14 on a piece of cheese this big.
You're getting a tiny little one.
Right. I'm not into it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we used to know people that made their own and with the rules they got, and I don't blame them at all for this. They got gun shy and said, it's not worth it anymore. We don't want to supply anybody with cheese or milk or anything.
You just don't want to run that risk.
They don't, and I don't blame them at all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I don't think I would do it either.
No.
It's not worth it. That's the world we live in, where you can't get arguably some of the best produce from your neighbor.
100%. Yeah.
Because of a weird rule.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
The government has no place in your kitchen. They really don't.
No.
Right.
Absolutely not. Always. Well, could you trust it? Well, I can trust it a heck of a lot more than I can trust that. Like you said, how many farm recalls have been in Canada's history or whatever?
If I go buy milk from a local producer and I get a jar of milk, I know that it only contains milk.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the grocery store and you buy a jug of milk, how many ingredients in there?
Yeah, more than one.
At least four. At least four. And that's not that's just if you're buying regular milk. You start buying that fancy, that's not even fancy. It's garbage, but like almond milk and oat milk and
that's one thing I was
potato milk I seen the other day.
I've seen your TikTok about that.
I laughed about that. Yeah.
I don't know if I want to try it. I guess my neighbor made oat milk. I want to try it because I have oats. I just want to see.
Yeah.
I don't even know the process.
To me, that just it's like porridge strainings. That's what comes to mind, right?
And I think that's exactly what it is. It's just atrocious.
Yeah, it would just be horrible.
So, and I'm not sure.
It's like if you left the lid off your bin one day and then just had a little tap at the bottom and you just drain out whatever comes out the bottom. Yeah. Putrid, rancid, and then you got to add sugar to it and all this other stuff, right? So,
yeah.
Well, it's no different than canola oil, right? You ever see a canola oil? Like it's absolutely rancid. It's got to go through 7 different processes to actually even make it palatable.
Yeah.
Because it was never intended for human consumption. It was actually intended for like waterproofing aircraft back in the day.
Yeah.
Military equipment.
Yeah, the old European rape.
Yeah, rapeseed oil. Yeah.
But now they upgraded it to because they got chemical extraction or cold press. So I think there's 3 ways to get it out.
Yeah.
I was actually going to buy a canola press.
Oh yeah.
It was $7,000 though.
Oof.
But I thought I could use the meal and then I could use the oil. But
that was a funny thing I seen. I don't know. Do you follow Jock McQueen on TikTok? He's from Australia. He's a pretty funny guy, but he's also a really knowledgeable guy. He was talking about the outrage at how much soy is planted around the world, and it's in tune with that. The outcry about global farming production and the scourge on the environment that is.
Yeah.
And so there's all this soy that is used for animal consumption, and so all these acres of land are decimated because of the soy goes for feedstock, right? And well, I mean, he pulls no punches, and he says, well, actually no, like it's not. It's actually animal feed, and then there's a byproduct of it. Or sorry, it's actually human consumption,
yeah.
And the byproduct of it is animal feed. So I mean, it's just that clever marketing that people do just to trick you and deceive you into thinking that there's this environmental catastrophe unfolding because of, we're feeding ruminants, but it's not. We're actually feeding people, and we're trying to use that waste without, you know, letting it rot somewhere. Right?
And that's absolutely on point. I think when we did our famine live stream, we had talked about that global famine. Um, there's a guy that's always on those Facebook videos or whatever. Is Joey Carbstrong or something, and he's a vegan, actually pretty well spoken guy. I can watch quite a bit of his stuff. Don't agree with him very much that he says, but he comes across pretty well. And he had that. Oh, if we only didn't farm, we could farm on less. But with social media, there's a lot of people now in the grain producers, livestock producers that are able now to get out and answer that and say, well, I seen one guy the other day, and I know this because I drove across it when I worked in Oklahoma. There's huge swaths of North America across the Midwest that is not conducive to growing crops. It's pasture land.
Yeah.
You cannot. It's rocky. It's hilly. It's everything else.
Yeah.
There's only small parts of the globe where you can grow grain, and then when you look into the grains that you grow, malt varieties for beer are special varieties. Milling varieties of wheat are special varieties. I shouldn't say to soy and corn, but like a tremendous amount of corn grown is for ethanol.
Sure, it is. Yeah.
It's and the byproduct is feed.
Yeah.
So there's a to say that everything we grow is just for livestock. That's actually really not the truth at all. Most of what we grow is for human consumption. The byproducts of everything are for feed. There are feed varieties, but they're often less lucrative.
Sure, there are.
Right. I mean, the feed price is lower than the top grade price, and so it's neat to see farmers now get involved, get on TikTok, get on YouTube, and say like, look, this isn't the reality. And the marketing is tremendous. I really noticed it today in packaging. And it came to the cheese, and I was like, well, how the hell is this so much cheaper? And then this I think this block of cheese was $14.99 a block, mass produced Black Barrel or whatever. And then this one was like $6.89, but then the tag said whatever $14.99 a pound or whatever. Anyways, and it actually took my wife to come home and be like, well, look, it's like 400 grams.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, so that's this. I get it now.
Tomfoolery.
But yeah, and then I walked over to the bacon, right? $29.99 a pound or $19.99 a pound, and then I looked, and it was like a 250 gram pack. It was like this. It was like eight little slices of bacon in there.
There's a guy I work with, and he used to religiously cook bacon every weekend, and he hasn't cooked bacon in weeks now. And I was asked like, why is that? And well, it's so goddamn expensive. And when you think you don't really have to buy very many packs of bacon, where suddenly it's worthwhile to just buy a pig from a farmer and just butcher it yourself. Like, well, we just had ours done at Lawrence's in Dawson. Shockingly cheap. It only cost us $251. I think it was $251 or close to that, anyways, to cut, wrap, and do all the curing of the bacon and the hams for a 204-pound pig.
Yeah.
H&M we had done previous years. We gone to H&M in Grand Prairie. They were nigh on double that, but I'm not sure what the difference was between the two. But we actually haven't done the taste test yet. But still, for $250 plus the cost of the animal, which if you buy a wiener pig for $100, say, depending on the market. I mean, some guys will pay up to $150 for them, but you start there. They're about. No, I mean, it all depends where you get them from, right? Like,
I know. We just did the math today when we were figuring out what it would cost to get out of these things.
Yeah. So my neighbor to the east, he'll always offer me one for $75, and then we just kind of help each other out with stuff, right? So I think I got the neighbor price, but lots of times I see they're $150. And then what's the cost to feed it? So every pig's gonna eat what, like pretty much a full tote?
Yeah. Well, I figured it out to be about $335 a pig.
Yeah.
In feed, if you're going to pasture it throughout the summer too.
Yeah. So you take your input cost, feed, and the cost of the original wiener pig, plus your butchering cost. That's like 10 packs of bacon, you know?
I know.
Well, a bit more, of course, but I'm just being facetious. But you really don't have to buy a lot of bacon before it's actually worth your while to just do it.
Well, and that's the other thing too. Like on the odd instance where you find out, like, well, no, it still doesn't pencil out. It's it's still going to be $14 cheaper to get it at the store. Well, actually, now you're only selling the $14.
Yeah,
That's all you're selling.
sure you are.
Right? You're just selling the little bit of overage. And when you can start to factor in, your dollar staying in the community, using a local butcher, a local farmer, a local, plus
Yeah.
you're getting.
You start.
It's not important to a lot of people. It is to me.
No.
Ethically raised animals.
But it's the economy, it's the ethics, it's about the carbon footprint,
Absolutely, that's a big one, and
all of that, right?
I really try to use that as part of, because I don't really look to the market. There's 2 or 3 people we don't know that get meat from us. Most of it's family and friends.
Yeah.
But and that's kind of grows 1 or 2 people a year as the word of mouth spreads. But that's a big one that I tell people. Like you think of, of getting meat off the shelf at Costco. Take a good look.
Yeah.
That could literally come from anywhere on the planet.
That's right.
Like, and more often than not, especially with a place like Costco, you're going to find that it doesn't even come from North America.
No.
It doesn't even certainly doesn't come from Canada.
Well, I've seen lamb from New Zealand, and I've seen beef from Argentina.
Right.
So, I mean, well, it's not quite on the same continent, right?
So we can't, we can't stand outside with our, with our signs depicting one thing and shifting totally onto another.
That's right.
I mean, that was one of the whole things about grain. Like, some people have asked me recently, why would you even go through the motions of doing this? And I thought, well, I mean, it's kind of was a no-brainer once I thought about it. What's the point of shipping the grain south, east, west, wherever to be processed and shipped back in a smaller portion to pay more?
Ludicrous, right?
For I can do that right here. I mean, you think of somebody was asking me the other day. They were very environmentally conscious into the individual, and I thought, so we were figuring out, and I think I bought something like 1,700 mini bulk bags so far, and our tickets are like around 5,000 bags we've shipped out.
Yeah,
we've kept like 3,000 bags out of the dump.
Yeah.
Like I don't care what government, like, I mean, you got to follow the government regulations. They're there, and they're Goliath.
Sure.
So there's not, but I think that's a win. And I mean, I've got my whole little papers planned for the day when they come and say, no, you can't do this anymore. And I say, well, okay, why not?
Yeah. Why?
You're hard on plastic straws. You're hard on all of this stuff.
Yeah. What about the turtles?
Well, yeah, like we've kept. You visualize 3,000 bags rotting in a pile somewhere under an inch of dirt.
Well, they don't.
Like we've done this, right? We're people and people are willing to. They're willing. It's not only it's saving producers money by recycling. There's tremendous benefits to it.
You got your band? Jammer in the bottle for.
That didn't change from the.
Yeah, no, very, very consistent.
That was a one heck of
The only thing I found in the final third, it became. Maybe it was because we were talking more. I don't know, but it definitely went out a couple times on me.
Mine went out once, and then maybe twice, but it's unwrapping like you wouldn't believe.
That's what I found in the last little bit. It started to. I thought maybe that's because I had to massage it to get the band off because I was encroaching on the band with the lit end, and I didn't want to start smoking band.
You got your band off in one piece. I just peeled my.
Yeah, no, I kind of worked it off like Play-Doh, right? So. Ken said, have a listen to Joe Rogan podcast number 1893 with Will Harris. It's a good interview with an interesting farmer that has switched to regenerative farming. I will say that I'm shocked to see, more so out of the U.S., because I think that's where the term regenerative farming really was born, but there's almost a war waged against regenerative farming. And not that it shouldn't be done, but just to try and discredit it, right? There's a lot of large farmers, large producers out there that are saying, well, regenerative farming will only work on a small scale. Well, I don't believe that at all. I really don't, because there's literally thousands of ranch, 5,000, 6,000 acre ranches that's what they do. They rotate their ruminants through that large landmass, and
Yeah.
they've got, 30, 40,000 head of cattle. So the sizing isn't it, because you can scale that. You really can, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason why you can't. So it's always interesting to see what a lot of those regenerative farmers are doing. It's really interesting to see when they legitimately do actually upscale. Guys like Joel Salatin, he speaks to the small, like the homesteader crowd. But if you actually go to the polyface farm and look at like how large of an operation they're running there, thousands of chickens coming off of that small footprint. Now imagine multiplying that by, if you had 2,500 acres and you were moving chickens on there every day, how much production you could get off of that.
Yeah.
Be phenomenal, right? You'd obviously increase your production exponentially because you're immediately putting those nutrients back in the land, and you get allowing that land to rest and recover. You're not always exploiting the land, right? So
Mining, as they say,
mining it, right? Yeah, exactly.
taking it all and giving nothing back.
And Chad said he was watching the Bearded Butchers. It was actually surprisingly easy to cure bacon. It was an interesting watch. Kind of tempted to try it one day. I was watching a video, and I don't know if it was I think it was the Bearded Butchers. They did a tour kind of behind the shop there, and they had a smoker going, and they're like, "We won't tell you what this building used to be." It was very clearly an old outhouse that they just had a campfire going in, and they're smoking hams up on a tripod, and I don't think there's a lot to it if you got it figured, right? So
This is a wreck. I was laughing at that today. If people could see the what it takes to get a piece of meat wrapped and on a shelf, they most likely would be vegan.
Oh, really? You think?
I think so. Yeah, it's
Well,
it's pretty archaic when you see.
I did have an experience the other day, because when I went to the butchers to take the lambs in, previously they would come out to the farm and they'd do everything on the farm, and then they'd ship the carcass to the butcher, do the cut and wrap, right? And this year I hauled them to the butcher, and then they've got a facility now to just run them through the kill facility and do the whole thing there. So that's just easier, and probably in terms of carcass quality and stress and everything, it's probably just easier to do that, right? So I haul it in there, and I said to the lady, "I've never been here before to drop off animals." She's like, "Oh no, just go to this building on the other side of the C-can." Well, they had a C-can and then another building, and then a third C-can, or second and third C-can, and then another building on the far side. So I went to the first building and just opened the side door, and that was the kill room, right? And no shit, like you open the door, it's like a tidal wave of blood. Like you've got 6 cows hanging all at once, right? And it's very efficient, right? But if you're not ready to see that, it might turn you green pretty quick, right? So.
Oh yeah, I think I really believe that. Yeah, if the average individual saw the process from start to finish, they probably would just switch to oranges and bananas and call her good.
Yeah,
because there's right. I mean, there's a bit from pulling the calf to finishing it off. There's quite quite a bit involved.
There's a lot of moving parts in between, right? So,
of course, that's why everybody doesn't do it.
Yeah, well, it's not everybody's cup of tea, right? That's why a lot of folks, I think, they go to the grocery store, because they think that that removes them from from their part, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can I got no blood on my hands. Well, you do. It's just in a different way, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, the whole out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, out of sight, out of mind. Now you just got environmental blood on your hands, right? So.
And a ton of plastic wrap.
And a ton of plastic wrap. Yeah. It was funny. There's a guy in Saskatchewan. I was following him on. Why? I wasn't following him on TikTok, but his stuff kept coming up on my For You page, where he was recycling like grain bags,
I
It's the plastic, not the green bags like you have, but I think it was like
Yeah, like the big long tubes.
big long sausage tube.
What's his company called?
I forget, but he went he went right to court. Like they were gonna jail him and everything. Ecogenics, that's what it was. Yeah.
I was watching him too.
And he's like, I'm literally keeping thousands of tons of plastic out of Saskatchewan landfills.
Amazing.
And you're telling me I can't recycle this because there's some shady deal going on with
Clean Farms,
the Saskatchewan government, and
Clean Farms.
Yeah, exactly, right.
But there is something to this. We got to quickly switch to this.
Somebody's greasing somebody.
I got to get this in there. So I seen a TikTok thing about a lady in Ontario. This retired guy, his grandkid couldn't get any Tylenol, whatever. So he just went in and asked, "What's the shortage of Tylenol?" Right? It's big shortage of Tylenol. So he went and asked the pharmacist, "Why is there a shortage of Tylenol?" And the pharmacist told him, "Well, there's Tylenol readily available all over, children's Tylenol, but it's not labeled in French. So they can't sell it." So I started reading through this lady's comments because a lot of people have been told, and I don't know either way what the story is. But anyways, a lot of it's.
I can confirm that's accurate.
It's due to COVID. It's due to this, due to the other thing. When we got inspected by the CFIA last spring,
okay,
they were sitting at the table and saying, "Okay, coming down the pipe, you guys are it's going to be coming for labeling your tags. You'll have to label them in French." And I thought, like, this is nuts, right? And I didn't think about it. I just thought, like, this is crazy. Like, that's going to add a lot of cost.
I didn't know that my chickens could speak French.
Well, this is coming on the pipe. The CFIA, right, the government, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, the inspector was sitting at our table and said this last spring. I didn't think of it until I watched that video, and I thought, you know what? I believe it. I believe that's true.
That probably
because the pharmacists are coming out and they're saying we are trying to buy it out of the States. It's plentiful, but it's not labeled in French.
Yeah.
And then I read another article about a week ago. Bilingualism is killing the healthcare system.
Well, I don't know if it's killing the healthcare system, but I do.
Or over healthcare.
I do know two medical professionals that have confirmed that the infant Tylenol, children's Tylenol shortage is a direct result of packaging. Right,
and it wasn't killing healthcare. It was the bilingualism over healthcare.
So you go now to the pharmacy and you're like, I got a kid with a fever, and of course we've got one right now. She's sick in the house, and what do? And they're saying, literally take a regular Tylenol and crunch it up with a spoon, and they're like microdosing adult Tylenol to give to your kids. Is that not a huge health risk for potential overdose in Tylenol? Right.
Well, the crazy thing, right? So if we circle back to how long could you stay on the farm? So I was talking to my wife about this a week ago. And I said, like, well, do we have any? She said, yeah, we got like 5 bottles. I bought a bunch of them. So I said, we're good.
Yeah.
Because we don't use a lot. But she just seen it, and not that we're hoarders or whatever. I mean, the chick might even be inspired. I don't know. But we got it. So
like anything, you want to keep.
Didn't worry about it, right? I mean, it's the stupid rules abound. It's amazing. It's amazing
for sure
how much we are under the thumb of completely incompetent people making really ridiculous knee-jerk reactions that are not beneficial to the masses for sure.
Well, I could see. Okay, well, if it were true that the entirety of our nation were legitimately bilingual, okay, but bilingual means that you speak both languages, right? So if you go to Quebec right now, I know there's a large portion of that population that can readily speak English.
Yeah.
Right. So what's the issue?
Further to that, when we enjoy a cigar, we cannot enjoy the label because it's been covered by this.
Been covered by the government. Yeah.
So how hard would it be to print this with your printer on a piece of sticky paper?
Maybe that's what we need to do.
Into French and slap it on the box.
Start getting cigarette manufacturers to make Tylenol labels.
This is, to me, is absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing that we've created a shortage in 2022 because no one can use a printer. Like you can go to Staples and buy the stuff that's a thing and is a sticker.
Easy to do.
And you could have that Tylenol, send it out.
Yeah.
There you go.
Boom.
Print it. Boom. Stop it on the box. Good enough.
Yeah.
Sell it. But just a
Even
huge
jam it as an insert in the.
jab it in there.
Yeah.
Hand it. Put it on the back of your seat.
Yeah.
Like there has to be ways around it, and it's
sure.
amazing when you look at the government seeing no possible way out of this, and the common individual is like, there's like a bajillion ways
There's
out
a
of this.
bajillion ways to do it.
What are we doing? What are we talking about here?
Put a link out and
Put a link. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you speak French, Google it.
Yeah. No.
It's amazing.
Anyways, can I interest you in a piece of Christmas cake? Since we had such a
We
lovely
have
whiskey that tasted like sultanas and raisins and.
The whiskey was really good. The cigar was really good as well.
Yeah, I think that was a win.
Where did we get to on time?
Oh,
2:24. Wow.
2:24. So more than an hour and 10.
There's a different one here. Who's this individual?
Nadra, I don't know we've ever had them sign into one of our live streams before, but welcome to the show. Greatest show on earth. Hopefully you don't mind a big thick slice.
Thank you, sir.
These plates actually royal heritage. I got these from my grandmother.
Oh, wow. So don't drop it.
20-some years ago. So it's just a co-op Christmas cake. My mother-in-law, she always makes Christmas cake, and she made some yesterday. Sent it home with me. And it's not that I'm being stingy or I'm trying to hoard that all to myself, but she didn't have any of the citrus rind. So it's full of raisins and figs and everything like that, but it's because of the figs, it's really gritty.
Okay.
It still tastes good, but it's got like a lot of spice, and it's just really gritty. So doesn't leave a good finish. But I thought this would be a nice little something to round up the cigar and the whiskey.
Not a lot of people are big fans of Christmas cake.
It's kind of a polarizing thing. Like people either it's kind of a love it or hate it thing, eh? Like I've always loved, like, this is fruitcake is half the fucking population of England would starve if it weren't for fruitcake, I think. But it really is kind of a staple there, right? So, and not just Christmas. Like you get into Christmas, it's now they have plum pudding.
Okay.
Which is like this, but it's like even more dense. But fruitcake's kind of a year-round thing. So Chad says the cake looks good. Haven't had any yet since last Christmas. Now I'm going to get some. So yeah, I mean it's the time. Tootin' Sadbury said, "What's the verdict on tonight's whiskey and cigars?" Well, I'll be honest with you. Good whiskey, but it's torquey as hell.
It is.
So you really got to pace yourself.
It did need that splash of water.
A drop of water definitely helped to increase its palatability, because it definitely was on the nose. I found it was quite volatile, right? Had a lot of burn on the tip of the tongue. So if you really want to get the port, the fruitiness out of it, a drop of water goes a long way. But we got a third of the way of the bottle instead of a half a way into the bottle like we typically do. So that extra 6% definitely makes a difference.
Oh, it slowed you down. It definitely did.
Yeah. What and the cigar? Yeah, the cigar was exceptional, I thought.
That was really good. But the review said, like, I mean, that's a high class cigar.
Yeah, so that was in our father, Florida Antilles.
Yeah.
Toro.
Antilles.
Antilles, that's what you said.
I googled it and I let it play where they say the word to you, how to pronounce it.
They say it to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're bilingual.
Pretty much.
This is
fluent in Spanish.
Spanish. Yeah.
So also learned that the Antilles is a chain of islands.
Yeah.
Cuba and Puerto Rico. I think
good.
all of them, that whole stretch. So.
And then Chad says plum pudding is really good too, especially with rum sauce. Yeah, we never had it with rum sauce back home. We had it with vanilla custard was always the hot custard. You buy Bird's custard. It comes in like a can, and it's just dry, and you add milk and you boil it, and it makes like a vanilla pudding kind of thing. But it's not thick like pudding. It's like a sauce, right? It's really, really good. That's another. Yeah, if England ever ran out of custard, I think the empire would crumble.
The ships would be on the ocean looking for more.
Yeah, there'd be some what do you call them, privateers back out there.
Be a new country being discovered full of custard.
Mm-hmm. Be looking for the Oompa Loompas again. He said, "When are we doing the cigar room at the River Cree?" So we need to hear more about this because I didn't know that was a thing. You can actually go to like a place and
I guess they have
smoke
one.
cigars in the back room.
Joe knows all about it. He wants us to go down there.
I think we need to do a road trip.
I was looking on the internet trying to find a Scotch tasting in Edmonton, and I thought we'd be able to line up a trip because I don't think there's going to be another one in Grand Prairie till next year. It's not really the place for it. But when I looked in Edmonton as well, it doesn't really seem to be the thing there either. So there are a couple of like vintage in Grand Prairie will have the odd tasting.
Yeah, they'll do it at the liquor store. Yeah,
and that's really all I could find in Edmonton as well. And I mean, we might have to just do that as well, but they don't have another. Like this was a charity event that Stan and I went. When was that, a month ago or whatever? October. Yeah.
It was the beginning of October. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, that was mighty fine.
Yeah, that was good. Ken says trifle for the win. Well, it depends on the type of trifle. We used to get trifle back in the old days. You get trifle. It was like Jello with cake. And I always thought it kind of tasted weird. Like those two flavors. It was kind of like almost like dish soap. I don't know. I was never a big fan. My sister-in-law makes what she calls trifle, and it's I think what a lot of other people will call sex in the pan. It's just like chocolate pudding and score bits and a bit of like chocolate cake in it. And that's really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always found the one with the Jello in it was a bit much for me. Same with Turkish Delight. I never liked Turkish Delight. That tasted like a fucking chocolate-covered bar of soap. It's the nastiest stuff on the planet, I swear.
When I was in grade 3, and for some reason I stayed after school and cleaned off a chalkboard, and I was rewarded with half a Turkish Delight. It was the last fucking time I ever stayed after school to do anything for anybody.
That sounds like the worst reward.
If that's what you're giving me, I'm out of here.
Like, I thought I stayed to help out, not to get attention.
That was brutal. Yeah. I think I hopped on my bike and took a bite out of that, gagged, spit it out, threw it in the garbage, and rode home.
Yeah,
not happening. Never again.
So I used to work with a guy that every morning he would buy a pack of smokes and a big Turk and maybe a sandwich if you're lucky, right? And I could never like understand like why would you put that in your body? Like not the smokes, but the big Turk, right? And well, I mean he put worse things in his body, but yeah.
No, it's funny that
which has red Jello, angel food cake, and whipped cream. Yeah, no, the British trifle is a little less civilized than that. There usually wouldn't be any whipped cream involved. Yeah, maybe some heavy cream we might pour over top. So, Chad said he'd sooner eat trifle than tripe. Yeah, I mean you gotta be real hungry to eat tripe.
What is tripe?
It's like the lining of a cow's stomach.
Oh, nummy.
Yeah, no, it's like desperation hungry.
Gross.
Yeah.
There are some there's some interesting acquired tastes.
Oh yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, back to Calgary Monday. I'll have to do a search for another bottle of whiskey to see maybe what we can add to the collection there.
Well, I was in the liquor store today. I actually picked up a $38 bottle to see.
Okay.
I know I had bought one at the at the liquor store in Height there was also around $30. It was like kerosene.
Kerosene.
It was just awful.
What kind was that?
Grant, maybe. Might be Grant if that's it.
Yeah,
I didn't put a bunch of thought into it. And then once I tried it, I put absolutely no more thought into it. I just wanted it to end.
just traumatized.
So it's.
I'll be honest with you, Brian. It tastes like pure gasoline.
It was something else. And
Yeah.
well, you know, we talked about that kind of in the infancy of this, that you know, Scotch is pretty awful. And then we got, you know, a bottle or two, and it wasn't so bad. And then we ended up with some
really good.
Some of the Dalmores, which are very sweet, aged longer in those sherry casks. Things like Lafroig and stuff from Isla, not Islay, is
kind of like a tire fire.
Yeah, it's it's a little dirtier, peatier, whatever. This yet again with the port is another.
It's just sweet and fruity, but it's got so much bite to the damn thing.
Like something like this, I really do expect if you could find something like this in a $25, $30 bottle, it would be undrinkable.
Oh, but it would be a $500 bottle of whiskey.
Right, it would be just.
Yeah. Okay, so Jeremy says Wayne Gretzky's whiskey is gross too. I've heard that. A lot of celebrity alcohol is pretty nasty, right? Like that. I had Proper 12, which is, who's that guy that shoots his mouth off and punches people in the face all the time?
Oh, I just seen that yesterday.
Conor
I just
McGregor?
seen that yesterday.
Yeah, no, it's awful.
It's okay.
Yeah, oh no.
Well, a lot of that runs on hype and branding, right? Like,
for sure.
You know, there's a lot of those tequilas and stuff. Dude, tequila is one thing I don't even understand.
Well, no, it's good. It's not good on a good day,
but yet, I mean, if George Clooney somehow owns the, I don't know if they're even called distilleries or whatever, then all of a sudden it's the best ever. But it still sucks. It's not good at all.
Yeah, they just got a good marketing team behind them. Cootie Sattery said, ever taste any bourbons on here? I don't think we even have any bourbon in the collection.
No.
We have a couple rye, mostly Scotch, a couple rums.
There was a few rums and we never even opened one of those yet.
Just the, right off the get.
Oh, the Appleton.
The Appleton's rum, but we've never revisited that because I think you got so sick that day.
That was an interesting.
We dived a little deep into that bottle.
We straightened things out. That was a beta test.
Chad's got some Chris Ledoux bourbon. It's really good. Don't know who builds it for him. What's that? Buffalo Trace. I always see that everywhere. That's apparently what the Cowboys drink.
Okay.
That's a bourbon.
Well, I can't say I would recommend.
Buddy of mine was trying to make his own. He's got a bit of a laboratory there. He was going to try and replicate some bourbon, and we had a taste the one day, and it was pretty good. But I don't think he ever went into production with it. So, yeah. Woodford Reserve. I have seen that. I will have to take that recommendation and see if we can acquire some.
We might have to do that. Venture out a little bit.
Yeah,
to a couple
go intercontinental.
Yeah, right. I mean, don't not be so. I at this point I don't mind being tied geographically to Scotland.
Well, the Scotch it's cool because there's such a history. Like there's before you even start, there's 200 years of history there.
Yeah,
you know,
and they're the difference in regions is totally. It's truly amazing.
Well,
it's truly amazing.
That's true. Yeah. Where I don't. Maybe that's true in bourbon. I hear like there's a Kentucky bourbon, and what is it they say with Jack Daniel's is like a Tennessee whiskey or something. I don't know what the difference is between a Tennessee whiskey and a bourbon, but
yeah. Well, I see, and that's the thing. I don't think it has the geographical significance of northeast Scotland to
Yeah.
Southwest Isla,
Well,
or right. I mean, there's a huge difference in land and everything.
but these all start with just malted barley, right?
They do,
Whereas
but
bourbon, you start with a mash. Like you put all of your stuff in, you make your mash, and then you distill from there, and then you put it in the barrels and add your flavoring and coloring from the barrel.
true.
Whereas like Canadian whiskey is different yet again, because Canadian whiskey is you do your individual grains, you distill, and then you blend after it's distilled. So all three of them are kind of done differently, right?
Hmm.
I'm not a super huge fan of Canadian whiskey just by itself. Like
No, no. There was
Yeah.
a friend of mine was over a week or so ago, and all that we had was Crown Royal, and I mean, really, that's kind of a piss poor excuse of a drink, to be totally honest with
you got to
you.
get the Canadian Club.
To sit and sip.
Yeah.
But
If you go to the UK right now and you look for like a good whiskey coming out of North America, Canadian Club's going to be at the front of that line for sales, right? They drink that stuff like it's tap water. Like that is like the gold standard of whiskey there.
really,
Yeah.
That
And
is
they got
very
all of this
interesting.
in their back door.
Yeah.
Like, but that's the go-to.
Well, I do know there's something to be said for that. Like you don't. I mean, right? Jack Daniels is another one that's kind of famous everywhere, but and then
But
you go down there and they're like, and it's in a few country songs, but really, when I
yeah.
was down there, nobody seemed to give a shit. They
Nobody.
wanted Crown and Coke.
Oh yeah.
Jack and Coke was kind of like,
Well,
21-year-olds at the bar, their first drink, that's what they got. And then they were cool. Listen to a Jason Aldean song for a little while and then go puke their guts out. And then,
About 10 years ago now, we were in South Dakota and we ordered rye and ginger, and that lady, like, I feel bad for her now. She just like deer in the headlights, had no idea like what is rye and ginger. We explained it to her like it's rye whiskey. She still had no idea, but she heard the word whiskey, so she's like, okay, we got whiskey and ginger, like what, like ginger beer, like what? No, it's not like ginger beer. In fact, it's completely different than ginger beer. It's much softer, and yeah, no, it doesn't have that bite to it. Oh, we don't have that. So what she ended up doing was giving us bourbon with a splash of Coke and a splash of Sprite, and that's as close as they could get to a rye and ginger there. And that was absolutely awful. It was the worst thing I've ever drank in my life. Yeah, Coke and Sprite with bourbon. Ooh, terrible.
yeah, that doesn't actually sound that fun.
Yeah. So, but we got some folks checking out here now. So we're almost 2 3/4 hours. So
Crazy.
yeah,
That was kind of an easy one to fill with 5 bullet points.
yeah, it was pretty easy topic really, because
It is.
we're all kind of facing winter's wrath here now.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, well, it's going to get cold. We think it's bad tonight, but it's going to get even worse down to -30 again here in a couple of days.
I see that.
By Wednesday, we're going to be right back into her.
So yeah, hopefully
Bring your big coat.
you haven't let this go, and you've used your time wisely.
Yeah.
Your second winner, second chance, I guess.
The last chance, yeah.
And then,
Last chance.
See how that goes, because yeah, I know starting to fish stuff out of the ice right now even is kind of like, I guess that'll stay till spring.
Yeah.
Put a cone there.
Don't run over that.
Right.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, good. Well, should we let the folks go back to bed?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us this evening.
You bet.
We'll be back in a couple weeks from now.
Yeah, maybe should get another one in before Christmas.
It'd be nice if we could.
You betcha.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thanks, folks.